extra. Even for a woman of Celine's height, Boyle's saddle was high above the ground. She reached up to touch the finely wrought patterns on the chest, and her hands across them pressed. There was a click, and she pushed the lid up, let it fall open. As she stretched on tiptoe to put a hand inside, Rand reached over her shoulder and lifted out the horn of Valere. He had seen it once before, but never touched it. Though beautifully made, it did not look a thing of great age or power. A curled golden horn, gleaming in the faint light,
how you doing?
inlaid silver script
On a
flowing
Dab
around the
Strong
mouth of the
Nice.
bell. He touched the strange letters with a finger. They seemed to catch the moon. Tia me aven moridin isayinde badin, Celine said. The grave is no bar to my call. You will be greater than Arthur Hawkwing ever was. I am taking you to Lord Agomar. It should go to Tarbal, he thought. But I'm done with Aes Sedai. Let Agomar or Ingtar take it to them. He set the horn back in the chest. It cast back the moonlight, pulled the eye. That is madness, Celine said. Rand flinched a little.
I'm listening to
Mad or
a
not,
book
here's what
by
I'm doing. I told you, Celine, I
Robert
want to be part
Jordan.
of greatness.
It's called
Back there, I thought I
The
did.
Great Hunt.
For a while, I thought I wanted things like, she's so beautiful. Egwene, Celine. I'm not worthy of either of them. Something seemed to take hold of me. Saidin came for me.
I have my little dab straw too. Just not no dabs for it.
He breathed deeply. Shinar is where the Horn of Valere belongs. Or if not there, Lord Agomar will know what to do with it. Euron appeared from up the mountain. There's fire there again, Lord Rand. And bigger than ever. And I thought I heard shouting. It was all down in the hills. I don't think they've come up on the mountain yet. You misunderstand me, Rand, Celine said. You cannot go back now. You are committed. Those friends of the dark will not simply go away because you've taken the horn.
Yeah, I have a nectar collector.
Unless you know some way to kill them all, they will be hunting you now as you hunted them before. No! Boyle and Huron looked surprised at Rand's vehemence. He softened his tone. I don't know any way to kill them all. They can live forever for all of me. Celine's long hair shifted in waves as she shook her head. Then you cannot go back, only onward. You can reach the safety of Carian's walls long before you could return to Shinar. Does the
I
thought of
don't
a few
have
more
no,
days in my company seem so onerous? Rand stared at the chest. Celine's
Nice.
company was far from burdensome.
Can't go wrong with
But near
that.
her, he could not help
But I also got my dab pins.
Still, trying to ride back north meant risking Fane and his followers. She was right in that. Fane would never give up. Ingtar would not give up either. If Ingtar came on southward, and Rand knew of no reason for him to turn aside,
This one is
soon or late.
Northern Lights.
Carian, he agreed.
Some wedding cake.
Where you live, Celine. I've never been
And
to
some
Carian.
key lime pie.
The chest. You took something else from the Friends of the Dark? Celine said. You spoke earlier of a dagger. He left the chest as it was and pulled the dagger from his belt. The bare blade curved like a horn, and the quillins were golden serpents. Set in the hilt, a ruby as big as his thumbnail winked like an evil eye in the moonlight. Ornate as it was, tainted as he knew it was, it felt no different from any other knife. Be careful, Celine said. Do not cut yourself. Rand felt a shiver inside. If simply carrying it was dangerous, he did not want to know what a cut from it would do. This is from Shadowloka, he told the others. It will twist whoever carries it for long, taint them to the bone the way Shadowloka is tainted. Without Aes Sedai healing, that taint will kill eventually. So that is what ails Matt, Boyle said softly. I never suspected. Huron stared at the dagger in Rand's hand and wiped his own hands in the front of his coat. The sniffer did not look happy. None of us must handle it any more than is necessary, Rand went on. I will find some way to carry it. It is dangerous. Celine frowned at the blade as if the snakes were real and poisonous. Throw it away. Leave it or bury it if you wish to keep it from other hands, or be rid of it. Matt needs it, Brand said firmly. It is too dangerous. You said so yourself. He needs it. The, uh, the Aes Sedai said he would die without it to use in healing you. I still have a string on him, but this blade will cut it. Until I'm rid of it and the horn, they have a string on me. But I'll not dance however much they pull. He set the dagger in the chest inside the curl of the horn. There was just room for it, and pulled the lid down. It locked with a sharp snap. That should shield us from it. He hoped it would. Lan said the time to sound most sure was when you were least certain. The chest will surely shield us, Celine said in a tight voice. And now I mean to finish what is left of my night's sleep. Brand shook his head. We are too close. Pain seems able to find me sometimes. Seek the oneness if you are afraid, Celine said. I want to be as far from those dark friends come morning as we can be. I will saddle your mare. Stubborn. She sounded angry, and when he looked at her, her mouth curved in a smile that never came close to her dark eyes. A stubborn man is best once. Her voice trailed off, and that worried him. Women often seem to leave things unsaid, and in his limited experience, it was what they did not say that proved the most trouble. She watched in silence as he slung her saddle onto the white mare's back and bent to fashion the girths. Gather them all in, Thane snarled. The goat-snouted Trolloc backed away from him. The fire, piled high with wood now, lit the hilltop with flickering shadows. His human followers huddled near the blaze, fearful to be out in the dark with the rest of the Trollocs. Gather them, everyone that still lives, and if anything to run, let them know they'll get what that one got. He gestured to the first Trolloc that had brought him word Althor was not to be found. It still snapped at ground muddied with its own blood, hooves scraping trenches as they jerked. Go, Thane whispered, and the goat-snouted Trolloc ran into the night. Thane glanced contemptuously at the other humans. They'll have their uses still, then turned to stare into the night, toward Kinslayer's dagger. Althor was up there, somewhere in the mountains. With the horn. His teeth grated audibly at the thought. He did not know where exactly, but something pulled him toward the mountains. Toward Althor. That much of the Dark One's gift remained to him. He had hardly thought of it, had tried not to think of it, until suddenly, after the horn was gone, Althor was there, drawing him as meat draws a starving dog. I am a dog no longer. A dog no longer! He heard the others shifting uneasily around the fire, but he ignored them. You will pay for what was done to me, Althor. The world will pay. He cackled at the night with mad laughter. The world will pay. Chapter 20. Sardine. Rand kept them moving through the night, allowing only a brief stop at dawn to rest the horses, and to allow Loyal rest. With the Horn of Valir in its gold and silver chest occupying his saddle, the Ogier walked or trotted ahead of his big horse, never complaining, never slowing them. Sometime during the night, they had crossed the border of Kyrian. I want to see it again, Celine said as they halted. She dismounted and strode to Loyal's horse. Their shadows, long and thin, pointed west from the sun just peeking over the horizon. Bring it down for me, Alanton. Loyal began to undo the straps. The Horn of Valir. No, Rand said, climbing down from Red's back. Loyal, no. The Ogier looked from Rand to Celine, his ears twitching doubtfully, but he took his hands away. I want to see the horn, Celine demanded. Rand was sure she was no older than he, but at that moment she suddenly seemed as old and as cold as the mountains, more regal than Queen Morgase at her haughtiest. I think we should keep the dagger shielded, Rand said. For all I know, looking at it may be as bad as touching it. Let it stay where it is until I can put it in Matt's hands. He can take it to the Aes Sedai. What price will they demand for that gift? But he hasn't any choice. He felt a little guilty over feeling relief that he, at least, was through with Aes Sedai. I am done with him, one way or another. The dagger. All you seem to care about is that dagger. I told you to be rid of it. The Horn of Valyr. No. She came to him, a sway in her walk that made him feel as if he had something caught in his throat. All I want is to see it in the light of day. I won't even touch it. You hold it. It will be something for me to remember. You holding the Horn of Valyr in your hands. She took his hands as she said it. Her touch made his skin tingle and his mouth go dry. Something to remember when she had gone. He could close the dagger up again as soon as the horn was out of the chest. It would be something to hold the horn in his hands where he could see it in the light. He wished he knew more of the prophecies of the dragon. The one time he had heard a merchant's guard telling a part of it, back in Emmons Field, Nynaeve had broken a broom across the man's shoulders. None of the little he had heard mentioned the Horn of Valyr. Aes Sedai trying to make me do what they want. Selene was still gazing intently into his eyes, her face so young and beautiful that he wanted to kiss her despite what he was thinking. He had never seen an Aes Sedai act the way she did, and she looked young, not ageless. A girl my age couldn't be Aes Sedai, but... Selene, he said softly. Are you an Aes Sedai? Aes Sedai? She almost spat, flinging his hands away. Aes Sedai! Always you hurl that at me. She took a deep breath and smoothed her dress, as if gathering herself. I am what and who I am, and I am no Aes Sedai. And she wrapped herself in a silent coldness that made even the morning sun seem chill. Loyal and Huron bore it all with as good a grace as they could manage.
Hey,
Trying to
Babylon.
make conversation and
Hey,
hiding
Sam
their
Squash. How you
embarrassment when
doing?
she froze them with a look. They rode on. By the time they made camp that night beside a mountain stream that provided fish for their supper, Selene seemed to have regained some of her temper,
Just getting
chatting with the
another one rolled up.
speaking kindly to Huron. She barely spoke to Rand, though. He spoke first, either that evening or the following day as they rode through mountains that reared on either side of them like huge, jagged gray walls, ever climbing. But whenever he looked at her, she was watching him and smiling. Sometimes it was the sort of smile that made him smile back. Sometimes the sort that made him clear his throat and blush at his own thoughts. And sometimes the mysterious, knowing smile that Egwene sometimes wore. It was a kind of smile that always put his back up. But at least it was a smile. She can't be Aes Sedai. The way began to slope downwards, and with the promise of twilight in the air, Kinslayer's dagger at last gave way to hills, rolling and round, with more brush than trees, more thickets than forest. There was no road, just a dirt track, such as might be used by a few carts now and again. Fields carved some of the hills into terraces, fields full of crops, but empty of people at this hour. None of the scattered farm buildings lay close enough to the path they rode for Rand to make out more than that they were all made of stone. When he saw the village ahead, lights already twinkled in a few windows against the coming of night. We'll sleep in beds tonight, he said. That I will enjoy, Lord Rand. Huron laughed. Loyal nodded agreement. A village inn, Selene sniffed. Dirty, no doubt, and full of unwashed men swilling hay. Why can't we sleep under the stars again? I find I enjoy sleeping under the stars. You would not enjoy it if Thane caught up with us while we slept, Rand said. Him and those Trollocs. He's coming after me, Selene. After the horn, too, but it is me he can find. Why do you think I've kept such a close watch these past nights? If Thane catches us, you will deal with him. Her voice was coolly confident. And there could be dark friends in the village, too. But even if they know who we are, they can't do much with the rest of the villagers around. Not unless you think everyone in the village is a dark friend. And if they discover you carry the horn, whether you want greatness or not, even farmers dream of it. She is right, Rand, Loyal said. I fear even farmers might want to take it. Unroll your blanket, Loyal, and throw it over the chest. Keep it covered. Loyal complied, and Rand nodded. It was obvious there was a box or chest beneath the open
Nice.
striped blanket,
Hell yeah.
but nothing suggested
This
it was
one
a
is
travel chest.
the last of the smoke I
My room's
had,
chest
and
of clothes, Rand said with a grin.
this other one is some
Celine met his
roach
salad
weed.
with silence and an unreadable look. After a moment, they started on again. Almost immediately, off to Rand's left, a glimmer from the setting sun reflected from something on the ground. Something large. Something very large by the light it threw up. Curious, he turned his horse that way. My lord, Huron said, the village? I just want to see this first, Rand said. It's brighter than sunlight on water. What can it be? His eyes on the reflection, he was surprised when Red suddenly stopped. On the point of urging the bay on, he realized that they stood on the edge of a clay precipice, above a huge excavation. Most of the hill had been dug away to a depth of easily 100 paces. Certainly more than one hill had vanished, and maybe some farmers' fields, but the hole was at least 10 times as wide as it was deep. The far side appeared to have been packed hard to a ramp. There were men on the bottom, a dozen of them, getting a fire started. Down there, night was already descending. Here and there among them, armor turned the light, and swords swung at their sides. He hardly glanced at them. Out of the clay at the bottom of the pit slanted a gigantic stone hand, holding a crystal sphere. And it was this that shone with the last sunlight. Rand gaped at the size of it. A smooth ball. He was sure not so much as a scratch marred its surface, at least 20 paces through. Some distance away from the hand, a stone face in proportion had been uncovered. A bearded man's face, it thrust out of the soil with the dignity of vast years. The broad features seemed to hold wisdom and knowledge. Unsummoned, the void formed, whole and complete in an instant. Saidin glowing, beckoning. So intent was he on the face and the hand that he did not realize what had happened. He had once heard a ship captain speak of a giant hand holding a huge crystal sphere. Vale Doman had claimed it stuck out of a hill on the island of Tremolking. This is dangerous, Celine said. Come away, Rand. I believe I can find a way down there, he said absently. Saidin sang to him. The huge ball seemed to glow white with the light of the sinking sun. It seemed to him that in the depths of the crystal, light swirled and danced in time to the song of Saidin. He wondered why the men below did not appear to notice. Celine rode close and took hold of his arm. Please, Rand, you must come away. He looked at her hand, puzzled, then followed her arm up to her face. She seemed genuinely worried, perhaps even afraid. If this bank doesn't give way beneath our horses and break our necks with the fall, those men are guards, and no one puts guards on something they wish every passerby to examine. What good will it do to avoid pain if some lord's guards arrest you? Come away. Suddenly, a drifting, distant thought. He realized that the void surrounded him. Saidin sang, and the sphere pulsed. Even without looking, he could feel it. And the thought came that if he sang the song Saidin sang, that huge stone face would open its mouth and sing with him. With him and with Saidin, all one. Please, Rand, Celine said. I will go to the village with you. I won't mention the horn again. Only come away. He released the void, and it did not go. Saidin crooned, and the light in the sphere beat like a heart, like his heart. Loyal, Huron, Celine, they all stared at him, but they seemed oblivious to the glorious blaze from the crystal. He tried to push the void away. It held like granite. He floated in an emptiness as hard as stone. The song of Saidin, the song of the sphere. He could feel them quivering along his bones. Grimly, he refused to give in, reached deep inside himself. I will not. Ran. He did not know whose voice it was. Reached for the core of who he was, the core of what he was. Will not. Ran. The song filled him, filled the emptiness. Touched stone, hot from a pitiless sun, cold from a merciless night. Not. Light filled him, blinded him. Till shade is gone, he mumbled. Till water is gone. Power filled him. He was one with the sphere. Into the shadow with teeth bare. The power was his. The power was his. To spit in Sightblinder's eye. Power to break the world. On the last day. It came out as a shout, and the void was gone. Red shied at his cry. Quay crumbled under the stallion's hoof, spilling into the pit. The big bay, wet to his knees, Rand leaned forward, gathering the reins, and Red scrambled to safety away from the edge. They were all staring at him, he saw. Celine, Loyal, Buren, all of them. What happened? The void. He touched his forehead. The void had not gone when he released it, and the glow of Saidin had grown stronger, and he could not remember any more. Saidin. He felt cold. Did I do something? He frowned, trying to remember. Did I say something? You just sat there stiff as a statue, Loyal said, mumbling to yourself no matter what anyone said. I couldn't make out what you were saying. Not until you shouted day loud enough to wake the dead and nearly put your horse over the edge. Are you ill? You're acting more and more oddly every day. I am not sick, Rand said harshly, then softened. I'm all right, Loyal. Celine watched him warily. From the pit came the sound of men calling, the words indistinguishable. Lord Rand, Buren said, I think those guards have finally noticed us. If they know a way up this side, they could be here any minute. Yes, Celine said. Let us leave here quickly. Rand glanced at the excavation, then away again, quickly. The great crystal held nothing except reflected light from the evening sun, but he did not want to look at it. He could almost remember something about the sphere. I don't see any reason to wait for them. We didn't do anything. Let's find an inn. He turned Red toward the village, and they soon left the pit and shouting guards behind. As many villages did, Tremoncine covered the top of a hill. But like the farms they had passed, this hill had been sculpted into terraces with stone retaining walls. Square stone houses sat on precise plots of land with exact gardens behind, along a few straight streets that crossed each other at right angles. The necessity of a curve to streets going around the hill seemed begrudged. Yet the people seemed open and friendly enough, pausing to nod to each other as they hurried about their last chores before nightfall. They were a short folk, none taller than Rand's shoulder, and few as tall as Huron, with dark eyes and pale, narrow faces, and dressed in dark clothes, except for a few who wore slashes of color across the chest. Smells of cooking, oddly spiced to Rand's nose, filled the air, though a handful of goodwives still hung over their doors to talk. The doors were split so the top could stand open while the bottom was closed. The people eyed the newcomers curiously, with no sign of hostility. A few stared a moment longer at Loyal, Ogier walking alongside a horse as big as a Buren stallion, but never more than a moment longer. The inn, at the very top of the hill, was stone like every other building in the town and plainly marked by a painted sign hanging over the wide doors. The 9 Rings. Rand swung down with a smile and tied Red to one of the hitching posts out front. The 9 Rings had been one of his favorite adventure stories when he was a boy. He supposed it still was. Celine still seemed uneasy when he helped her dismount. Are you all right? He asked. I didn't frighten you back there, did I? Red would never fall over a cliff with me. He wondered what had really happened. You terrified me, she said in a tight voice. And I do not frighten easily. You could have killed yourself. Killed... She smoothed her dress. Ride with me, tonight, now. Bring the horn, and I will stay by your side forever. Look at it. Me by your side, and the horn of Elir in your hands. And that will only be the beginning, I promise. What more could you ask for? Rand shook his head. I can't, Celine. The horn... He looked around. The man looked out his window across the way, then twitched the curtains closed. Evening darkened the street, and there was no one else in sight now except Loyal and Huron. The horn is not mine. I told you that. She turned her back on him, her white cloak walling him off as effectively as bricks. Chapter 21. The Nine Rings. Rand expected the common room to be empty since it was nearly supper time, but half a dozen men crowded one table, dicing among their jacks of ale, and another sat by himself over a meal. Though the dicers carried no weapons in sight and wore no armor, only plain coats and breeches of dark blue, something about the way they held themselves told Rand they were soldiers. His eyes went to the solitary man. An officer with the tops of his high boots turned down and his sword propped against the table beside his chair. A single slash of red and one of yellow crossed the chest of the officer's blue coat from shoulder to shoulder, and the front of his head was shaved, though his black hair hung long in the back. The soldier's hair was clipped short, as if it had all been cut under the same bowl. All seven turned to look as Rand and the others came in. The innkeeper was a lean woman with a long nose and graying hair, but her wrinkles seemed part of her ready smile more than anything else. She came bustling up, wiping her hands on a spotless white apron. Good evening to you. Her quick eyes took in Rand's gold-embroidered red coat and Celine's fine white dress. My lord, my lady, I am Magdalen Madwin, my lord. Be welcome to the Nine Rings. And an Ogier. Not many of your kind come this way, friend Ogier. Would you be up from steading Sofu, then? Loyal managed an awkward half-bow under the weight of the chest. No, good innkeeper. I come the other way, from the borderlands. From the borderlands, you say? Well. And you, my lord, forgive me for asking, but you've not the look of the borderlands, if you don't mind my saying. I'm from the Two Rivers, Mistress Madwin, in Andor. He glanced at Celine. She did not seem to admit he existed. Her level look barely admitted that the room existed or anyone in it. The Lady Celine is from Kyrie, from the capital, and I am from Andor. As you say, my lord. Mistress Madwin's glance flickered to Rand's sword. The bronze herons were plain on the scabbard and hilt. She frowned slightly, but her face was clear again in a blink. You will be wanting a meal for yourself and your beautiful lady and your followers. And rooms, I expect. I'll have your horses seen to. I have a good table for you right this way, and pork with yellow peppers on the fire. Would you be hunting the Horn of Valir then, my lord? You and your lady? In the act of following her, Rand almost stumbled. No. How would you think we were? My lord. We've had two through here already, all polished to look like heroes, not to suggest anything of the kind about you, my lord, in the last month. Not many strangers come here, except traders up from the capital to buy oats and barley. I'd not suppose the hunt has left Ilion yet. But maybe some don't think they really need the blessing, and they'll get a jump on the others by missing it. We are not hunting the horn, mistress. Rand did not glance at the bundle in Loyal's arms. The blanket with its colorful stripes hung bunched over the Ogier's thick arms and disguised the chest well. Surely are not. We are on our way to the capital. As you say, forgive me for asking, but is your lady well? Celine looked at her for the first time. I am quite well. Her voice left a chill in the air that stifled talk for a moment. You're not Carian and Mistress Madwin, Huron said suddenly. Burdened down with their saddlebags and Rand's bundle, he looked like a walking baggage cart. Pardon, but you don't sound it. Mistress Madwin's eyebrows rose, and she shot a glance at Rand, then grinned. I should have known you'd let your man speak freely, but I've grown used to. Her glance darted toward the officer, who had gone back to his own meal. No, I'm not carrying it. But for my sins, I married one. 23 years I lived with him, and he died on me. The light shine on him. I was all ready to go back to Lugard. But he had the last laugh, he did. He left me the inn and his brother the money when I was the other way round.
Hell yeah,
Babylon. Scheming, Baron was. Like every man I've ever known. Carianan most of all. Will you be seated, my lord? My lady? The innkeeper gave a surprised blink when Huron sat at table with them. Ogier, it seemed, was one thing.
I actually got
was clearly a servant in her eyes.
well, it's
With
not
another
a
quick
Wii,
look
but
at
it's
Rand, she
a
bustles off to the
Nintendo
kitchen,
Switch
and
that
soon serving girls
I'm
came
fixing
giggling and staring at the Lord and the Lady.
to post
And
up
the Ogier,
for
so
sale on
Mistress Madwin
Facebook here
chased them
soon.
back to their work. At first, Rand stared at his food doubtfully. The pork was cut in small bits mixed with long strips of yellow peppers and peas, and a number of vegetables and things he did not recognize, all in some sort of clear, thick sauce. It smelled sweet and sharp, both at the same time. Celine only picked at hers, but Loyal was eating with a will. Buren grinned at Rand over his fork. They spice their food oddly, carrying and do, Lord Rand. But for all that, it's not bad.
I'm mainly
It won't bite you.
getting rid of it or wanting to get rid of it because I got
took a hesitant mouthful and almost gasped. It tasted just
I have
as
a
it smelled,
Nintendo
sweet and
Switch
sharp
2.
together. The pork
So I got
on the outside and tender inside. A dozen different
I got
flavors,
the first one and I got
spices, all
the
blending
new
and
version.
contrasting. It tasted like nothing he had ever put in his mouth before. It tasted wonderful. He cleaned his plate, and when Mistress Madwin returned with the serving girls to clear away, he nearly asked for more the way Loyal did. Celine's was still
And when I do, I'll probably
and
just
she motioned
post it
quickly
up
for
for
one of the girls
probably
to take
100 because it comes with like 2
Thank you,
games.
friend Ogier. The innkeeper smiled. It takes a lot to fill up one of you. Catherine, bring another helping and be quick. One of the girls darted away. Mistress Madwin turned her smile on Rand. My lord, I had a man here who played the bittern, but he married a girl off one of the farms, and she has him strumming reins behind the plow now. I couldn't help noticing what looks like a flute case sticking out of your man's bundle. Since my musician's gone, would you let your man favor us with a little music? Buren looked embarrassed. He doesn't play, Rand explained. I do. The woman blinked. It appeared lords did not play the flute, at least not in Kyrian. That's true, request, my lord. Light's own truth, I meant no offense, I assure you. I'd never ask one such as yourself to be playing in a common room. Rand hesitated only a moment. It had been too long since he had practiced the flute rather than the sword, and the coins in his pouch would not last forever. Once he was rid of his fancy clothes, once he turned the horn over to Ingtar and the dagger over to Matt,
I'll be right back.
To earn his supper again while he searched for somewhere safe from Aes Sedai. And safe from myself.
Hell yeah, I like the older ones too. That's what I like about the Switches. They have like a kind of like a paid version, like a paid.
Slide it out.
I guess you call it like a
no need to show agreement.
how PlayStation Plus is.
Unspoken questions
and what you might call it. And you can actually play some of the old school games on it from like Nintendo 64,
the Heron branded on his right palm did not interfere
from
with fingering.
Game Boy games to 64 to Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Sega Genesis games.
He began to play Heron on the Wing. Huron bobbed his head to the tune, and Loyal beat time on the table with a thick finger. Celine looked at Rand as if wondering what he was. I'm not a lord, my lady. I'm a shepherd, and I play the flute in common rooms. But the soldiers turned from their talk to listen, and the officer closed the wooden cover of the book he had begun reading. Celine's steady gaze struck a stubborn spark inside Rand. Determinedly, he avoided any song that might fit in a palace or a lord's manor. He played Only One Bucket of Water and The Old Two Rivers Leaf, Old Jack's Up a Tree, and Goodman Pricket's Pipe. With the last, the 6 soldiers began to sing in raucous tones, though not the words Rand knew. We rode down to River Irelel just to see the Tyrant come. We stood along the river bank with the rising of the sun.
Because I gotta get it back again. It's not that much. It's like it's like $4 or $5 a month.
Oh, we stood our ground. Yes, we stood our ground. Stood our ground along the river in the morning. It was not the first time that Rand had discovered
what you call it? Me and my brother were playing Super Mario World. The one where you get the Yoshi. We got it saved and whatnot, but I gotta.
When Rand lowered the flute, the officer rose and made a sharp gesture.
I got
The
what you
soldiers
call
fell
it.
silent in mid-laugh, scraped back
Get
their chairs to bow to the officer with
I gotta
hand
get it back
outstretched,
again so we can actually play it again.
and left without a backward
But
look.
actually, what's cool too, it actually
The
has
officer came to Rand's table and
the old
bowed,
Mario Kart on it.
The shave in front of his head looked as if
It has
dusty
that.
as
It has, let's see,
Grace
Star
favor you, my
Fox.
lord.
You can
I
play. It
trust
has
they
Donkey
did not
Kong
bother
Country. You can
singing
play.
as they did.
It has
They are a common sort,
the different.
but they meant no insult, I assure you.
It has different.
I'm Aldrin Calderwin, my lord, captain in His Majesty's service, the light illumined. His eyes slid over Rand's sword. Rand had the feeling Calderwin had noticed the herons as soon as he came in. They didn't insult me.
But it has all kinds of old ones that you can play on there. That's what I liked about it.
Every word pronounced.
And I have I have this one in my room. That way, if I want to play something, and I could do it here. But I have the Nintendo Switch 2 actually hooked up to the big TV in the living room.
Any other strangers recently? A lady, short and slender,
and
a fighting man with blue eyes. He's tall, and sometimes he wears his sword on his back. I have seen no strangers at all, he said, lowering himself stiffly to his seat. Saving yourself.
Because in there, me and my brother, like I said, we were playing Super Mario World, one with the Yoshi.
His eyes
and
loyal with a minute frown.
Since I have the Nintendo Switch 2,
it was
I actually got
light, my lord.
It's able to run.
But may I hear you?
I guess you can see better games because I can actually run the new Assassin's Creed Shadows on my Nintendo Switch 2. And the game that I got, one of the reasons that it's in the living room. But I want to have it, but a friend of ours, Ouija Buds, got it through the same company that I get my games through, the GameFly. And she got Mario Kart World. It's the newest Mario Kart. But that Mario Kart World, that's a pretty good one. They definitely improved on Mario Kart.
The serving girls in the background, beginning to clean and sweep. Calderwin seemed only to be making conversation, but there was a probing quality.
So you, Janice, it's nice. What's cool? Actually, let me see if I can dig it out real quick.
Young to hold so much responsibility. Grant kept his voice level. Gareth Bryn has enough gray in his hair to be your father, Captain. Forgive me, my lord. I meant to say that he came to it young. Calderwin turned to Celine, and for a moment he only stared.
Oh, God damn it.
He shook himself, finally, as if coming out of a trance. Forgive me for looking at you so, milady. And forgive me for speaking so, but grace has surely favored you. Will you give me a name to put to such beauty? Just as Celine opened her mouth, one of the serving girls let out a cry and dropped a lamp she was taking down from a shelf. The oil splattered and caught in a pool of flame on the floor.
I hadn't even put a picture in this yet.
Along with the others
I just broke.
Before any of them could move, appeared, and she and the girl smothered the flames with their aprons.
I just broke the picture frame.
I have told you to be careful, Captain.
I hadn't even got to use it yet. Give me 1 second, I gotta toss this.
You'll be burning the inn down and yourself in it. The girl seemed on the point of tears. I was being careful, mistress, but I had such a twinge in my arm. Mistress Madwin threw up her hands. You always have some excuse, and you still break more dishes than all the rest. It's all right. Clean it up and don't burn yourself. The innkeeper turned to Rand and the others, all still standing around the table. I hope none of you take this amiss. The girl really won't burn down the inn. She's hard on the dishes when she starts mooning over some young fellow, but she's never mishandled a lamp before. I would like to be shown to my room. I do not feel well after all. Celine spoke in careful tones, as though uncertain of her stomach. But despite that, she looked and sounded as cool and calm as ever. The journey and the fire. The innkeeper clucked like a mother hen. Of course, my lady. I have a fine room for you and your lord. Shall I fetch Mother Caradwine? She has a fine hand with soothing herbs. Celine's voice sharpened. No, and I wish a room by myself. Mistress Madwin glanced at Rand, but the next moment she was bowing Celine solicitously toward the stairs.
That's why I don't have nice things. I do something like that and I break shit.
Good girl now. For the serving girls ran to take Celine's saddlebags from Huron, and the women disappeared upstairs.
This is what I was trying to grab out.
Stepped back in silence. Baldwin stared after them until they were gone, then shook himself.
It's a old controller.
Seated himself before taking his chair again. Forgive me, my Lord Rand, for staring so at your lady, but Grace has surely favored you with her. I mean no insult. None taken, Rand said. He wondered if every man felt the way he did when they looked at Celine. As I was riding to the village, Captain, I saw a huge spear. Crystal, it seemed. What is it? The Carianan's eyes sharpened. It is part of the statue, my Lord Rand, he said slowly. His gaze flickered toward Loyal. For an instant, he seemed to be considering something new.
Well, it's a little dusty, but...
Statue? I saw a hand and a face, too. It must be huge. It is, my Lord Rand. And oh, Baldwin paused. From the age of legends, so I am told. Rand felt a chill. The age of legends. When use of the one power was everywhere.
Alright, that's pretty much what I did. I just went outside and threw it in the trash can out there. Luckily, I have
It must be. No one has done work so fast since. A great piece of work.
Another one.
Huron sat silently, as if he not only was not listening, but was not there at all. Baldwin nodded reluctantly. I have 500 laborers in camp beyond the diggings, and even
I gotta actually
past summer's end before we have it clear.
Get off my butt and...
They are men from the foregate. Half my work is to keep them digging, and the other half is to keep them out of this village. Foregaters have a fondness for drinking.
This is a chicken one of my friends made. I'm supposed to be sending it to my niece.
Stone said his sympathies were all with the villagers.
But
Rand nodded. He had no interest in
she pretty much hand sewed this.
The captain hesitated.
Put it together.
But only looked back at him until he spoke. Galdrian himself has ordered that it be taken to the capital. Loyal blinked. A very great piece of work, that. I am not sure how something that big could be moved so far. His Majesty has ordered it, Baldwin said sharply. It will be set up outside the city, a monument to the greatness of Carian and of House Rioton. Ogier are not the only ones who know how to move stone. Loyal looked abashed, and the captain visibly calmed himself.
Hell yeah, Babylon. That's badass.
He spoke in haste and rudely. He still sounded a little gruff. Will you be staying in Tremoncian?
That's what I grew up on, was playing Atari.
We are going to Carian.
But what's cool about Atari now is we learned that when me and my brother were working at the game store, because we sold everything from
put it as a question, but as if acceptance.
Everything from Atari to the new gen stuff.
If you will excuse
so we had Atari games and systems, we had PlayStation 1 games, we had
until the morning.
Everything from, like I said, Atari to the new gen. But when we're working there, that's when we found out that
behind the Carianan, the innkeeper came to the table.
Excuse me, that the Atari stuff actually got put down on the collector's list. So if we have the box and everything with it, that's a good thing to have, because having the original box and everything with the actual system bumps up the price of it.
We weren't kissing, so to speak. That's my way of saying I have some experience.
Hell yeah.
Right now, you're thinking your lady never wants to see you.
Yeah, that's always good to have as a box that it came with. It definitely, if you ever did consider getting rid of it, having the real original box and everything with it, definitely, it's definitely in the good.
She knew I'd even thought of it. And Celine would kill me if I did it.
I wish I would have kept some of the stuff I had back in the day.
That did make his cheeks burn. I thank you for your suggestion, Mistress Madwin. The rooms? He avoided looking at the blanket-covered chest by Loyal's chair. They did not dare leave it without someone awake and guarding it. We three will all sleep in the same room. The innkeeper looked startled, but she recovered quickly. As you wish, my lord.
Some wedding
This
cake.
way, if you please. Ran followed her up the stairs. Loyal carried the chest under its blanket. The stairs groaned under the weight of him and the chest together, but the
Hell
innkeeper
yeah.
seemed to think it was
That's
just
badass.
an bulk. And Huron still carried all the saddlebags and the bundled cloak with the harp and flute. Mistress Madwin had a third bed brought in and hastily assembled and made up.
I think one of the cool
beds
things that
already there stretched nearly from wall to wall
we
blanket,
had when I worked
and it
there,
obviously
we
been
actually
meant for
had
Loyal from the start. There was barely room
the
to walk between the beds.
old school Game Boy.
As soon as the innkeeper was gone, Rand turned to the others. Loyal had
Like
pushed the still-covered chest
pretty much the
under his
original Game
bed
Boy
and was
that
drawing the mattress. Huron
you
was
had to
setting
have a
up the
light on to
saddlebags.
see.
Do either of you know why that captain was so suspicious?
We actually
of us?
had
He was, I'm sure of it.
a Game
He
Boy
shook his head.
in the
I
box,
almost think he thought he might steal that
factory
statue when he was
sealed.
talking.
So everything was in there.
Lord Rand, Huron said. The great game.
And
The game of houses, some call it. This Calderwin thinks he must be doing something to your advantage.
there's a guy that bought it.
And whatever you're doing,
And
it might be to his disadvantage. So
like I said, it's factory sealed. It was still sealed up, which meant it had Tetris in it. I had all the papers that was in it, the poster, everything.
Loyal said from his bed.
But he bought it because he actually had another original Game Boy that he used.
Ogier don't do such things, but I
But
have heard of it. The nobles and
he
the noble
bought it,
houses maneuver
but
for advantage. They do things they
he
think
made
will
his
help
little
them or hurt the enemy or both.
when he asked the question.
Usually it's all done in secrecy, or if not,
Because
they try to make it seem
he
as if
wanted
they're doing
us
something
to
other than what they are.
open it
He gave one tufted ear a puzzled scratch. Even knowing what it
and
is, I
take
don't
it out.
understand.
because he wanted to put
Elder
batteries
Harmon
in
always
it,
said it would take
to
a
make
greater
sure
mind than
it
his
worked.
to understand the things humans do.
and we're like,
I don't know many as intelligent as Elder Hammond.
like we can't do that. That's gonna
Gave the Ogier a slanted look, but he said,
decrease the price on it. But he told us
carry in and play it more than most, though all Southerners do. These soldiers in the morning, Rand said, are they part of Calderwin playing this great game?
but he told us
We
that
can't afford to get
he'll
mixed in
still
anything
buy
like
it.
that.
He'll still
There is
buy
no
it.
need to mention the horn.
That
They are all too aware
he
of
just
its
wants to
greatness.
open it
Loyal
and make
shook his
sure
head.
it works.
I don't know, Rand. He's human, so it
Because
could be anything.
He was gonna
Huron? I don't know either.
retire
Huron sounded as worried
his
as the
old
Ogier
one and use that
He
one.
could be doing just what he said, or that's the way of the game of houses. You never know. I spent most of my time in Carrion in the Foregate, Lord Rand. And I don't know much about Carrion and nobles, but, well, Deus Demar can be dangerous anywhere, but especially in Carrion, I've heard. Right, suddenly. The Lady Celine, Lord Rand. You know better than me or the builder. Ask her in the morning. In the morning, Celine was gone. When he went down to the common room, Mistress Madwin handed him the key. If you'll forgive me, my lord, you should have listened to me. You should have tapped on your lady's door.
He did that, and
before he broke the white
we
wax
had
seal. The wax had been impressed with a crescent moon and stars.
I think we had a Nintendo in the box. They still had
I do not like
the little how can you say it? A little pew pew for duck hunt.
As I know,
YouTube gets upset when you say the other one.
It was not
But he still had a little pew pew for duck hunt. It had that in it. It had everything it was supposed to have in
in
it.
his pocket before going outside, where Huron had the horses waiting. Captain Calderwin was there too.
But when we were working there was a time that
soldiers crowding the street. The
because
two officers were bareheaded,
they
but wore steel-blacked gauntlets and gold-worked breastplates strapped over their
they
blue
hadn't
coats.
came out
The
with
short staff was fastened to
the
harness of each
PS5
officer's
yet
back,
when we were working there. They still
bearing a
just had
small, stiff blue banner
PS4.
above his head. Calderwin's banner bore a
But
single
when we
white
worked
star,
there,
while
I
the other
had
arms was crossed by two
the
white bars.
PS4
They were a contrast to the soldiers in their plain armor.
Two different
that looked like bells
Xbox 360s.
Their faces. Calderwin bowed as Rand came out of the inn. Good morning
Wedding
to you,
cake.
my Lord Rand.
Do some
This
key
is
lime
Eric
pie
Dane
too.
Cumberland, who will
But,
command your escort, if I may call it that.
The reason I had it.
His head was shaved.
The reason I had
He did not speak.
the two different
And
Xbox 360s
Rand said, managing to
was because
Thane would not
they're
against 50 soldiers,
special
but
editions.
Rand wished he could be certain
I had
he would only an escort.
the
captain
Gears
eyed
of
Doyle
War
on his way to his horse with the
edition
blood-covered
Xbox
chest.
360 and controller, which
A
was
heavy burden, okay.
red and black
Doyle
and had all
almost missed a
the gears on it with the
step. I never
skull.
liked to be far from my
The
books.
Xbox had that, the
His
controls
wide-mouthed
had that,
black teeth in a self-conscious
and
grin,
then
and he hurried to strap the chest onto his saddle.
the other 360 I had was another special edition because it was a light blue and dark blue Xbox.
Already, Rand told him. She had to go on to carry
And then
during the night.
I had original Xbox, like the Xbox one,
Forgive me, my
but
Lord Rand.
I had.
He drew the young officer aside, whispering furiously. He had the inn washed, Lord Rand, Kieran whispered. The Lady Selene must have gotten past
The
him.
reason I had that one was because it was one of the special editions Xbox, which was a clear, like see-through one, but it was a green, like see-through Xbox One, or just Xbox.
You said something, my lord.
And then
mounted on a tall, dust-colored gelding.
I had
Buren was in his saddle too, and Loyal
it's
stood
called
beside his big horse's head. The
a
soldiers were
Retron
formed up in
5,
ranks. Calderwin was nowhere to be seen.
and that one was good to have, especially if you like playing old school games, because that one would play
a brief smile, hardly more than a twitch of his lips.
Nintendo,
The strange
Super Nintendo,
headed for the hard-packed road that led to the city of Kyria.
Sega Genesis,
Chapter 22.
Farmercon,
Watchers.
which is
Nothing is happening as I expect, Moiraine muttered, not expecting
the
an answer
Famicom
from
ones
Rand.
are like the
The
Japanese
long,
versions,
polished table before her was littered with books and papers,
and it played Game Boy
scrolls,
games.
and manuscripts. Many of
Pretty
them
much,
dusty from long storage and
the
tattered
Game Boy
with age,
games you're able to play
some
on it
only
were
fragments.
the regular Game
The
Boy,
room seemed almost
Game
made
Boy
of
Color,
books and manuscripts,
and then the
filling
smaller
shelves
Game Boy
except where there were
cartridges.
doors or windows or the
But it played
fireplace.
all that on it.
The chairs were high-backed and well-padded, but half of them and most of the small tables
But that one, I thought that was pretty
and
cool.
some had books and scrolls tucked under them. Only the clutter in front of Moiraine was hers, though. She rose and moved to the window, peered
Right,
into the night
Tommy
towards the
knockers.
lights of the village not far off. No danger of
Nice.
pursuit here. No one would expect her to come
And
here.
the other thing that was
Clear my head and begin
it was
again,
super
she
cool
thought.
that
That is all there is to do.
I didn't get it.
None of the villagers
But
had any suspicion that the two
my
elderly
brother,
sisters living in this snug
most
house
hated
where I
grower,
Sedai.
got it.
One did not suspect such things in a
And,
small place like Tiffon's Well.
What's cool about that is called a
farming
Superboy.
community deep in the grassy plains
It was-
of Arafeld. The villagers
it
came
was
to the
almost,
sisters for advice on their
if you remember
problems
the
and
Sega
cures for
Game
their
Gear,
ills and valued
it's
them
almost
being
like
blessed by the light.
that size,
no
but it
more.
was bulky.
Adelius and
Like, it was
Van
kinda like
Duyn had
thick.
gone into voluntary
But it looked
retreat
it was
together
looked
so
it was in the
long
shape
ago
of
that few even in the
a
White
Super
Tower
Nintendo
remembered
controller.
they still lived.
but it played
With the one
Super
equally
Nintendo
aged
games.
warder who
So
remained
the
to them, they
handheld,
lived quietly,
you could plug it
still
in,
intending to write
or
the history of the world
you
since
could
the
plug
Great
it
Age,
in
and
and
as much as
hook
they
it up
could
to the
include of
TV,
before. One
and you're able to play your
in the
Super Nintendo
meantime, there
games.
was
But
so
the
much
main
information to gather,
draw
so
of
many
it,
puzzles to solve.
and the main reason it was
Their
actually
house
sold,
was the perfect place for Moiraine
excuse me,
to find the
was because
information she
it was a
needed,
handheld Super
except that it was
Nintendo.
not there.
You put your Super Nintendo on the top,
Movement caught her
and
eye
pretty much
and she
sit there and you're
turned.
able to play
Lan
It was a-
lounging against
it was
the
a
yellow
decent
brick
screen,
fireplace,
about
as
like that,
imperturbable as a boulder.
that you're able to play Super
Do you
Nintendo
remember
games
the
on, and
first
it
time
was
we met,
handheld.
Lan? She was watching
And
for
that was
some
pretty
sign,
cool.
or she would not have seen the quick twitch of his eyebrow. It was not often she caught him by surprise. This was a subject neither of them ever mentioned. Nearly 20 years ago, she had told him, with all the stiff pride of one still young enough to be called young, she recalled, that she would never speak of it again, and expected the same silence of him. I remember, was all he said. And still no apology, I suppose. You threw me into a pond. She did not smile, though she could feel amusement at it now. Every stitch I had was soaked, and in what you bordermen call new spring, I nearly froze. I recall I built a fire, too.
Yeah, it was rechargeable.
So you could warm yourself in privacy. He poked
It
at
was
the burning
rechargeable
logs
then.
and returned the fire
You could actually,
to
while
its
it's
hook.
charging, you could actually plug
Even
it
summer
in and
nights were
play.
cool in the
Could have had
borderlands.
a decent
I
length
also
cord on
recall
it.
that while I slept that night, you dumped half the pond on me. It would have saved a great deal of shivering on both our parts if you had simply told me your Aes Sedai, rather than demonstrating it, rather than trying to separate me from my sword. Not a good way to introduce yourself to a borderman, even for a young woman. I was young and alone, and you were as large then as you are now, and your fierceness more open. I did not want you to know I was Aes Sedai. It seemed to me at the time you might answer my questions more freely if you did not know. She fell silent for a moment, thinking of the years since that meeting. It had been good to find a companion to join her in her quest. In the weeks that followed, did you suspect that I would ask you to bond to me? I decided you were the one in the first day. I never guessed, he said dryly. I was too busy wondering if I could escort you to Chachin and keep a whole skin. A different surprise you had for me every night. The ants, I recall in particular. I don't think I had one good night's sleep that whole ride. She permitted herself a small smile, remembering. I was young, she repeated. And does your bond chafe after all these years? You are not a man to wear a leash easily, even so light a one as mine. It was a stinging comment. She meant it to be so. No. His voice was cool, but he took up the fire tool again and gave the blaze a fierce poking it did not need.
Hell
Sparks
yeah.
cascaded up
That's
the chimney.
badass.
I chose freedom, knowing what it entailed. The iron rod clattered back onto its hook, and he made a formal bow. Honored to serve, Moiraine Aes Sedai. It has been and will be so always. Moiraine sniffed. Your humility, Lan Gaidin, has always been more arrogance than most kings could manage with their armies at their backs. From the first day I met you, it has been so. Why all this talk of For the 100th time, or so it seemed to her, she considered the words to use. Before we left Tarvalin, I made arrangements, should anything
right
happen
back.
to me, for your bond to pass to another. He stared at her silently. When you feel my death, you will find yourself compelled to seek her out immediately. I do not want you to be surprised by it. Compelled, he breathed softly, angrily. Never once have you used my bond to compel me. I thought you more than disapproved of that. Had I left this thing undone, you would be free of the bond at my death, and not even my strongest command to you would hold. I will not allow you to die in a useless attempt to avenge me, and I will not allow you to return to your equally useless private war in the Blight. The war we fight is the same war, if you could only see it so, and I will see that you fight it to some purpose. Neither vengeance nor an unburied death in the Blight will do. And do you foresee your death coming soon? His voice was quiet, his face expressionless, both like stone in a dead winter blizzard. It was a manner she had seen in him many times, usually when he was on the point of violence. Have you planned something without me that will see you dead? I'm suddenly glad there is no pond in this room, she murmured, then raised her hands when he stiffened, offended at her light tone. I see my death in every day as you do. How could I not, with the task we have followed these years? Now, with everything coming to a head, I must see it as even more possible. For a moment he studied his hands, large and square. I had never thought, he said slowly, that I might not be the first of us to die. Somehow, even at the worst, it always seemed. Abruptly, he scrubbed his hands against each other. If there is a chance I might be given like a pet lapdog, I would at least like to know to whom I am being given. I have never seen you as a pet, Moiraine said sharply, and neither does Mirelle. Mirel. He grimaced. Yes, she would have to be green, or else some slip of a girl just raised to full sisterhood. If Mirel can keep her three Gaidin in mind, perhaps she has a chance to manage you. Though she would like to keep you, I know. She has promised to pass your bond to another when she finds one who suits you better. So, not a pet, but a parcel. Mirel is to be a caretaker. Lorraine, not even the Greens treat their warders so. No Aes Sedai has passed her warder's bond to another in 400 years, but you intend to do it to me not once but twice. It is done, and I will not undo it. The might blind me if I'm to be passed from hand to hand. Do you at least have some idea in whose hand I will end? What I do is for your own good, and perhaps it may be for another's as well. It may be that Mirel will find a slip of a girl just raised to sisterhood. Was that not what you said? Who needs a warder hardened in battle and wise in the ways of the world? A slip of a girl who may need someone who will throw her into a pond. You have much to offer, Lan, and to see it wasted in an unmarked grave, or left to the ravens, when it could go to a woman who needs it, would be worse than the sin of which the White prate. Yes, I think she will have need of you. Lan's eyes widened slightly. For him it was the same as another man gasping in shocked surmise. She had seldom seen him so off balance. He opened his mouth twice before he spoke. And who do you have in mind for this? She cut him off. Are you sure the bond does not chafe, Lan Gaidin? Do you realize for the first time only now the strength of that bond, the depth of it? You could end with some budding white, all logic and no heart, or with a young brown who sees you as nothing more than a pair of hands to carry her books and sketches. I can hand you where I will, like a parcel, or a lapdog, and you can do no more than go. Are you sure it does not chafe? Is that what this has been for? He grated. His eyes burned like blue fire and his mouth twisted. Anger, for the first time ever that she had seen. Anger reached his face. Has all this talk been a test? A test to see if you could make my bond rub after all this time? From the day I pledged to you, I have ridden where you said ride, even when I thought it foolish, even when I had reason to ride another way. Never do you need my bond to force me. On your word, I have watched you walk into danger and kept my hands at my sides when I wanted nothing more than to outsword and carve a path to safety for you. After this, you test me? Not a test, Lan. I spoke plainly, not twisting, and I have done as I said. But at Faldara, I began to wonder if you were still wholly with me. Bitterness entered his eyes. Lan, forgive me. I would not have cracked the walls you pulled so hard, but I must know. Why did you do as you did with Rand? He blinked. It was obviously not what he expected. She knew what he had thought was coming, and she would not let up now that he was off balance. You brought him to the Armerland, speaking and acting as a border lord and a soldier born. It fit, in a way, with what I planned for him, but you and I never spoke of teaching him any of that. Why, man? It seemed right. A young wolfhound must meet his first wolf some day. But if the wolf sees him as a puppy, if he acts the puppy, the wolf will surely kill him. The wolfhound must be a wolfhound in the wolf's eyes even more than in his own if he is to survive. Is that how you see Aes Sedai? The Amelin? Me? Wolves out to pull down your young wolfhound? Lan shook his head. You know what he is, Lan. You know what he must become. Must. What I have worked for since the day you and I met and before. Do you now doubt what I do? No, no, but he was recovering himself, building his walls again. They were not rebuilt yet. How many times have you said that Taviran pulled those around them like twigs in a whirlpool? Perhaps I was pulled too. I only know that it felt right. Those farm folk needed someone on their side. Rand did, at least. Warren, I believe in what you do, even as now, when I know not half of it. Believe as I believe in you. I have not asked to be released from my bond, nor will I. Whatever your plans for dying and seeing me safely disposed of, I will take great pleasure in keeping you alive and seeing those plans at least go for nothing. Taviran, Moiraine sighed. Perhaps it was that. Rather than guiding a chip floating down a stream, I am trying to guide a log through rapids. Every time I push at it, it pushes at me, and the log grows larger the farther we go. Yet I must see it through to the end. She gave a little laugh. I will not be unhappy, my friend, if you manage to put those plans awry. Now, please leave me. I need to be alone to think. He hesitated only a moment before turning for the door. At the last moment, though, she could not let him go without one more question. Do you ever dream of something different, Lan? All men dream. But I know dreams for dreams. This, he touched his sword hilt, is reality. The walls were back, as high and hard as ever. For a time after he left, Moiraine leaned back in her chair, looking into the fire. She thought of Nynaeve and cracks in the wall. Without trying, without thinking what she was doing, that young woman had put cracks in Lan's walls and seeded the cracks with creepers. Lan thought he was secure, imprisoned in his fortress by fate and his own wishes, but slowly, patiently, the creepers were tearing down the walls to bear the man within. Already he was sharing some of Nynaeve's loyalties. In the beginning he had been indifferent to the Emmonsfield folk, except as people in whom Moiraine had some interest. Nynaeve had changed that, as she had changed Lan. To her surprise, Moiraine felt a flash of jealousy. She had never felt that before, certainly not for any of the women who had thrown their hearts at his feet, or those who had shared his bed. Indeed, she had never thought of him as an object of jealousy, had never thought so of any man. She was married to her battle, as he was married to his. But they had been companions in those battles for so long. He had ridden a horse to death, then run himself nearly to death, offering his arms at the last to Anaya for healing. She had tended his wounds more than once, keeping with her arts a life he had been ready to throw away to save hers. He had always said he was wedded with death. Now a new bride had captured his eyes, though he was blind to it. He thought he still stood strong behind his walls, but Nynaeve had laced bridal flowers in his hair. Would he still find himself able to court death so blithely? Moiraine wondered when he would ask her to release him from his bond, and what she would do when he did. With a grimace, she got to her feet. There were more important matters, far more important. Her eyes ran over the open books and papers crowding the room. So many hints, but no answers. Vandine came in with a teapot and cups on a tray. She was slender and graceful, with a straight back, and the hair, gathered neatly at the nape of her neck, was almost white. The agelessness of her smooth face was that of long, long years. I would have had Jane bring this and not disturb you myself, but he's out in the barn practicing with his sword. She made a clucking sound as she pushed a battered manuscript aside to set the tray on the table. Lan being here has him remembering he's more than a gardener and handyman. Guideen are so stiff-necked. I thought Lan would still be here. That's why I brought an extra cup. Have you found what you were seeking? I'm not even sure what it is I'm seeking. Moiraine frowned, studying the other woman. Vandine was of the green Aja, not brown like her sister. Yet the two of them had studied so long together that she knew as much of history as Adelius. Whatever it is, you don't even seem to know where to look. Vandine shifted some of the books and manuscripts on the table, shaking her head. So many subjects. The Trolloc Wars, the Watchers over the Waves, the Legend of the Return, 2 treatises on the Horn of Falir, 3 on Dark Prophecy, and Light. Here's Santhra's book on the Forsaken. Nasty, that. As nasty as this on Shadar Logoth. And the Prophecies of the Dragon in 3 translations, and the original. Moiraine, whatever are you after? The prophecies I can understand. We hear some news here, remote as we are. We hear some of what's happening in Ilion. There's even a rumor in the village that someone has already found the horn. She gestured with a manuscript on the horn and coughed in the dust that rose from it. I discount that, of course. There would be rumors. But what? No. You said you wanted privacy, and I'll give it to you. Stop a moment, Moiraine said, halting the other Aes Sedai short of the door. Perhaps you can answer some questions for me. I will try. Van Deen smiled suddenly. Adelius claims I should have chosen brown. Ask. She poured 2 cups of tea and handed one to Moiraine, then took a chair by the fire. Steam curled over the cups while Moiraine chose her questions carefully, to find the answers and not reveal too much. The Horn of Valir is not mentioned in the prophecies, but is it linked to the dragon anywhere? No, except for the fact that the horn must be found before Tarmon Ghaedel, and that the dragon reborn is supposed to fight the last battle. There is no link between them at all. The white-haired woman sipped her tea and waited. Does anything link the dragon with Tomon Head? Van Deen hesitated. Yes and no. This is a bone between Adelius and me. Her voice took on a lecturing tone, and for a time she did sound like a brown. There is a verse in the original that translates literally as 5 ride forth and 4 return. Above the watchers shall he proclaim himself, bannered across the sky in fire. Well, it goes on. The point is the word Mavron. I say it should be translated not simply as watchers, which is Avron. Mavron has more importance to it. I say it means the watchers over the waves, though they call themselves Domier Avron, of course, not Mavron. Adelius tells me I'm quibbling, but I believe it means the dragon reborn will appear somewhere above Tomon Head, in Aradomon or Saldaea. Adelius may think I'm foolish, but I listen to every scrap I hear coming from Saldaea these days. Mazreen Time can channel, so I hear, and our sisters haven't managed to corner him yet. If the dragon is reborn and the Horn of Valir found, then the last battle is coming soon. We may never finish our history. She gave a shiver, then abruptly laughed. Odd thing to worry about. I suppose I am becoming more brown. Horrible thing to contemplate. Ask your next question. I do not think you need worry about time, Moiraine said absently. It was a link with Tomon Head, however small and tenuous. He will be dealt with as Loghain was. What of Shadar Logoth? Shadar Logoth, Van Deen snorted. In brief, the city was destroyed by its own hate. Every living thing except Mordeth, the counselor who began it all, using the tactics of the Dark Friends against the Dark Friends, and he now lies trapped, waiting for a soul to steal. It is not safe to enter, and nothing in the city is safe to touch. But every novice close to being accepted knows as much as that. In full, you will have to stay here a month and listen to Adelia's lecture. She has the true knowledge of it. But even I can tell you there's nothing of the dragon. That place was dead 100 years before Urian Stonebow rose from the ashes of the Trolloc Wars, and he lies closest to it in history of all the false dragons. Moiraine raised a hand. I did not speak clearly, and I do not speak of the dragon now, reborn or false. Can you think of any reason why a Fade would take something that had come from Shadar Logoth? Not if it knew the thing for what it was. The hate that killed Shadar Logoth was hate they fought to use against the Dark One. It would destroy Shadowspawn as surely as it would those who walk in the light. They rightly fear Shadar Logoth as much as we. And what can you tell me of the Forsaken? You don't leap from subject to subject. I can tell you little more than you learned as a novice. No one knows much more of the Nameless than that. Do you expect me to ramble on with what we both learned as girls? For an instant, Moiraine was silent. She did not want to say too much, but Van Deen and Adelius had more knowledge at their fingertips than existed anywhere else but the White Tower, and more complications awaited her there than she cared to deal with now. She let the name slip between her lips as if it were escaping. Lanfear. For once, the other woman sighed. I know not a whit more than I did as a novice. The Daughter of the Night remains as much a mystery as if she truly had cloaked herself in darkness. She paused, peering into her cup, and when she looked up, her eyes were sharp on Moiraine's face. Lanfear was linked to the dragon, to lose Theron Tomor. Moiraine, Do you have some clue as to where the
There
dragon
goes
will be
round one.
reborn? Or was reborn? Has he come already? If I did, Warren replied levelly, would I be here instead of in the White Tower? The Oberlin knows as much as I, that I swear. Have you received a summons from her? No. And I suppose we would. When the time comes that we must face the dragon reborn, the Amelin will need every sister, every accepted, every novice who can light a candle unguided. Van Dien's voice lowered, musing. With such power as he will wield, we must overwhelm him before he has a chance to use it against us, before he can go mad and destroy the world. Yet first, we must let him face the Dark One. She laughed mirthlessly at the look on Moiraine's face. I am not. I've studied the prophecies enough to know we dare not gentle him first. If we can gentle him, I know as well as you, as well as any sister who cares to find out, that the seals holding the Dark One in Sheol Ghul are weakening. The Ilianers call the Great Hunt of the Horn. False dragons abound, and two of them, Loghain and now this fellow in Saldaea, able to channel. When was the last time the Reds found two men channeling in less than a year? When did they last find one in 5 years? Not in my lifetime, and I'm a good deal older than you. The signs are everywhere. Tarmon is coming. The Dark One will break free, and the dragon will be reborn. Her cup rattled as she set it down. I suppose that is why I feared you might have seen some sign of him. He will come, Moiraine said smoothly, and we will do what must be done. If I thought it would do any good, I'd pull Adelius's nose out of her book and set off for the White Tower. But I find I'm glad to be here where I am instead. Perhaps we will have time to finish our history. I hope that you will, sister. Van Dien rose to her feet. Well, I have tasks to be about before bed. If you have no more questions, I will leave you to your studies. But she paused and revealed that however long she had spent with books, she was still of the green Atya. You should do something about Lan, Moiraine. The man is rumbling inside worse than dragon language. Sooner or later he will erupt. I've known enough men to see when one is troubled with a woman. You two have been together a long time. Perhaps he has finally come to see you are a woman as well as Aes Sedai. Lan sees me as what I am, Van Dien, Aes Sedai, and still as a friend, I hope. You brooms, always so ready to save the world that you lose yourselves. After the white-haired Aes Sedai left, Moiraine gathered her cloak and, muttering to herself, went into the garden. There was something in what Van Dien had said that tugged at her mind, but she could not remember what it was. An answer, or a hint to an answer, for a question she had not asked, but she could not bring the question to mind either. The garden was small, like the house, but neat, even in moonlight aided by the yellow glow from the cottage windows, with sandy walks between careful beds of flowers. She settled her cloak loosely on her shoulders against the soft coolness of the night. What was the answer, and what was the question? Sand crunched behind her, and she turned, thinking it was Lan. A shadow loomed dimly only a few paces from her, a shadow that appeared to be a too-tall man wrapped in his cloak. But the face caught the moon, gaunt-cheeked, pale, with black eyes too big above a puckered, red-lipped mouth. The cloak opened, unfolding into great wings like a bat's. Knowing it was too late, she opened herself to Saidar, but the drug car began to croon, and its soft hum filled her, fragmenting her will. Saidar slipped away. She felt only a vague sadness as she stepped toward the creature. The deep crooning that drew her closer suppressed feeling. White, white hands, like a man's hands but tipped with claws, reached for her, and lips the color of blood curved in a travesty of a smile, bearing sharp teeth. But dimly, so dimly, she knew it would not bite or tear. Fear the drug car's kiss. Once those lips touched her, she would be as good as dead, to be drained of soul, then of life. Whoever found her, even if they came as the drug car let her fall, would find a corpse without a mark, and cold as if dead 2 days. And if they came before she was dead, what they found would be worse, and not really her at all any longer. The croon pulled her within reach of those pale hands, and the drag-car's head bent slowly toward her. She felt only the smallest surprise when a sword blade flashed over her shoulder to pierce the drag-car's breast, and little more when a second crossed her other shoulder to strike beside the first. Dazed, swaying, she watched as if from a great distance as the creature was pushed back, away from her. Lan came into her view, then Jane, the gray-haired warder's bony arms holding his blade as straight and true as the younger man's. The drag-car's pale hands bloodied as they tore at the sharp steel, wings buffeting the two men with thunderclaps. Suddenly, wounded and bleeding, it began to croon again, to the warders. With an effort, Moiraine gathered herself. She felt almost as drained as if the thing had managed its kiss. No time to be weak. In an instant, she opened herself to Saidar, and as the power filled her, steeled herself to touch the shadow spawn directly. The two men were too close. Anything else would harm them as well. Even using the one power, she knew she would feel soiled by the drag-car. But even as she began, Lan cried out, "Embrace death!" Jane echoed him firmly, "Embrace death!" And the two men stepped within reach of the drag-car's touch, drove home their blades to the hilt. Throwing back its head, the drag-car bellowed, a shriek that seemed to pierce Moiraine's head like needles. Even wrapped in Saidar, she could feel it. Like a tree falling, the drag-car toppled, one wing knocking Jane to his knees. Lan sagged as if exhausted. Lanterns hurried from the house, borne by Vandine and Adelius. "What was that noise?" Adelius demanded. She was almost a mirror image of her sister. "Has Jane gone and—" The lantern light fell on the drag-car. Her voice trailed off. Vandine took Moiraine's hands. "It did not." She left the question unfinished, as, to Moiraine's eyes, a nimbus surrounded her. Feeling strength flowing into her from the other woman, Moiraine wished, not for the first time, that Aes Sedai could do as much for themselves as they could for others. "They did not," she said gratefully. "See to the guiding." Lan looked at her, mouth tight. "You had not made me so angry I had to go work forms with Jane. So angry I gave it up to come back to the house. But I did," she said. "The pattern takes everything into the weaving." Jane was muttering, but still allowing Vandine to see to his shoulder. He was all bone and tendon, yet looked as hard as old roots. "How," Adelius demanded, "could any creature of the shadow come so close without us sensing it?" "It was warded," Moiraine said. "Impossible," Adelius snapped. "Only a sister could—" She stopped, and Vandine turned from Jane to look at Moiraine. Moiraine said the words none of them wanted to hear. "The Black Aja." Shouts drifted from the village. "Best you hide this," she gestured to the drag-car sprawled across a flower bed. "Quickly. They will be coming to ask if you need help, but seeing this will start talk you will not like." "Yes, of course," Adelius said. "Jane, go and meet them. Tell them you don't know what made the noise, but all is well here. Slow them down." The gray-haired warder hurried into the night toward the sound of approaching villagers. Adelius turned to study the drag-car as if it were a puzzling passage in one of her books. "Whether Aes Sedai are involved or not, whatever could have brought it here?" Vandine regarded Moiraine silently. "I fear I must leave you," Moiraine said. "Lan, will you ready the horses?" As he left, she said, "I will leave letters with you to be sent on to the White Tower if you will arrange it." Adelius nodded absently, her attention still on the thing on the ground. "And will you find your answers where you are going?" Vandine asked. "I may already have found one I did not know I saw. I only hope I am not too late. I will need pen and parchment." She drew Vandine toward the house, leaving Adelius to deal with the drug car. Chapter 23. The Testing. Nynaeve warily eyed the huge chamber far beneath the white tower and eyed Shiriam at her side just as warily. The mistress of novices seemed expectant, perhaps even a little impatient. In her few days in Tar Valon, Nynaeve had seen only serenity in the Aes Sedai and a smiling acceptance of events coming in their own time. The domed room had been carved out of the bedrock of the island. The lighted lamps on tall stands reflected from pale, smooth stone walls. Centered under the dome was a thing made of 3 rounded silver arches, each just tall enough to walk under, sitting on a thick silver ring with their ends touching each other. Arches and ring were all of one piece. She could not see what lay inside. There the light flickered oddly, and made her stomach flutter with it if she looked too long. Where arch touched ring, an Aes Sedai sat cross-legged on the bare stone of the floor, staring at the silvery construction. Another stood nearby, beside a plain table on which sat 3 large silver chalices. Each, Nynaeve knew, or at least she had been told, was filled with clear water. All 4 Aes Sedai wore their shawls, as Shiriam did. Blue fringed for Shiriam, red for the swarthy woman by the table, green, white, and gray for the 3 around the arches. Nynaeve still wore one of the dresses she'd been given in Faldara, pale green embroidered with small white flowers. "First you leave me to stare at my thumbs from morning to night," Nynaeve muttered, "and now it's all in a rush." "The hour waits on no woman," Shiriam replied. "The wheel weaves as the wheel wills, and when it wills. Patience is a virtue that must be learned, but we must all be ready for the change of an age." Nynaeve tried not to glare. The most irritating thing she had yet discovered about the flame-haired Aes Sedai was that she sometimes sounded as if she were quoting sayings even when she was not. "What is that thing? A Angreal? Well, that tells me nothing. What does it do?" "Angreal do many things, child. Like Angreal and Angreal, they are remnants of the Age of Legends that use the one power, though they are not quite so rare as the other 2. While some Angreal must be made to work by Aes Sedai, as this one must, others will do what they do simply with the presence of any woman who can channel. There are even supposed to be some that will function for anyone at all. Unlike Angreal and Angreal, they were made to do specific things. One other we have in the tower makes oaths binding. When you are raised to full sisterhood, you will take your final vows, holding that Angreal. To speak no word that is not true, to make no weapon for one man to kill another. Never to use the one power as a weapon except against dark friends or shadow spawn, or in the last extreme of defending your own life, that of your warder, or that of another sister. Nynaeve shook her head. It sounded either like too much to swear or too little, and she said so. Once Aes Sedai were not required to swear oaths. It was known what Aes Sedai were and what they stood for, and there was no need for more. Many of us wish it were so still. But the wheel turns and the times change. That we swear these oaths, that we are known to be bound, allows the nations to deal with us without fearing that we will show up our own power, the one power, against them. Between the Trolloc Wars and the War of the 100 Years, we made these choices, and because of them, the White Tower still stands, and we can still do what we can against the Shadow. Shiriam drew a deep breath. "My child, I am trying to teach you what any other woman standing where you are would have learned over the course of years. It cannot be done. Angreal are what must concern you now. We don't know why they were made. We dare use only a handful of them, and the ways in which we do dare to use them may be nothing like the purposes the makers intended. Most we have learned to our cost to avoid. Over the years, no few Aes Sedai have been killed, or had their talent burned out of them learning that." Nynaeve shivered. "And you want me to walk into this one?" The light inside the arches flickered less now, but she could see what lay in it no better. "We know what this one does. It will bring you face to face with your greatest fears." Shiriam smiled pleasantly. "No one will ask you what you have faced. You need tell no more than you wish. Every woman's fears are her own property." Vaguely, Nynaeve thought about her nervousness concerning spiders, especially in the dark, but she did not think that was what Shiriam meant. "I just Walk through one arch and out another, 3 times through and it's done. The Aes Sedai adjusted her shawl with an irritated hitch of her shoulder. If you wish to boil it down that far, yes, she said dryly. I told you on the way here what you must know about the ceremony as much as anyone is allowed to know beforehand. If you were a novice come to this, you would know it by heart. But don't worry about making mistakes. I will remind you if necessary. Are you sure you are ready to face it? If you want to stop now, I can still write your name in the novice book. No. Very well then. 2 things I will tell you now that no woman hears until she is in this room. The first is this. Once you begin, you must continue to the end. Refuse to go on, and no matter your potential, you will be very kindly put out of the tower with enough silver to support you for a year, and you will never be allowed back. Nynaeve opened her mouth to say she would not refuse, but Shiriam cut her off with a sharp gesture. Listen, and speak when you know what to say. Second, to seek, to strive, is to know danger. You will know danger here. Some women have entered and never come out. When the Terangrial was allowed to grow quiet, they were not there, and they were never seen again. If you will survive, you must be steadfast. Falter, fail, and her silence was more eloquent than any words. This is your last chance, child. You may turn back now, right now, and I will put your name in the novice book, and you will have only 1 mark against you. Twice more you will be allowed to come here, and only at the 3rd refusal will you be put out of the tower. It is no shame to refuse. Many do. I myself could not do it my first time here. Now you may speak. Nynaeve gave the silver arches a sidelong look. The light in them no longer flickered. They were filled with a soft white glow. To learn what she wanted to learn, she needed the freedom of the accepted to question, to study on her own, with no more guidance than she asked for. I must make Moraine pay for what she has done to us. I must. I am ready. Shiriam started slowly into the chamber. Nynaeve went beside her. As if that were a signal, the Red Sister spoke in loud, formal tones. Whom do you bring with you, sister? The 3 Aes Sedai around the Terangrial continued their attentions to it. One who comes as a candidate for acceptance, sister, Shiriam replied just as formally. Is she ready? She is ready to leave behind what she was, and passing through her fears gain acceptance. Does she know her fears? She has never faced them, but now is willing. Then let her face what she fears. Shiriam stopped, 2 spans from the arches,
cheers.
and Nynaeve stopped with her. Your dress, Shiriam whispered, not looking at her. Nynaeve's cheeks colored at forgetting already what Shiriam had told her on the way down from her room. Hastily, she removed her clothes, her shoes, and stockings. For a moment, she could almost forget the arches in folding her garments and putting them neatly to one side. She tucked Lan's ring carefully under her dress. She did not want anyone staring at that. Then she was done, and the Terangrial was still there, still waiting. The stone felt cold under her bare feet, and she broke out all over in goosebumps, but she stood straight and breathed slowly. She would not let any of them see she was afraid. The first time, Shiriam said, is for what was. The way back will come but once. Be steadfast. Nynaeve hesitated. Then she stepped forward, through the arch and into the gloom. It surrounded her as if the air itself were shining, as if she were drowning in light. The light was everywhere. The light was everything. Nynaeve gave a start when she realized she was naked, then stared in amazement. A stone wall stood to either side of her, twice as tall as she was and smooth, as if carved. Her toes wriggled on dusty, uneven stone paving. The sky above seemed flat and leaden, for all the lack of clouds, and the sun hung overhead, swollen and red. In both directions were openings in the wall, gateways marked by short, square columns. The walls narrowed her field of view, but the ground sloped down from where she stood, both in front and behind. Through the gateways, she could see more thick walls and passages between. She was in a gigantic maze. Where is this? How did I come here? Like a different voice, another thought came. The way out will come but once. She shook her head. If there's only one way out, I'll not find it standing here. At least the air was warm and dry. I hope I find some clothes before I find people, she muttered. Dimly she remembered playing mazes on paper as a child. There had been a trick to finding your way out, but she could not bring it to mind. Everything in the past seemed vague, as if it had happened to someone else. Trailing a hand along the wall, she started out, dust rising in puffs.
Hope everyone's doing good out there tonight.
At the first opening in the wall, she found herself peering down another passage that seemed indistinguishable from the one she was in already. Taking a deep breath, she went on straight, through more passages that all looked exactly alike. Presently she came to something different. The way forked. She took the left turning, and eventually it forked again. Once more she went left. At the third fork, left brought her to a blank wall. Grimly she walked back to the last fork and went right. This time it took 4 turnings right to bring her to a dead end. For a moment she stood glaring at it. How did I get here? She demanded loudly. Where is this place? The way out will come but once. Once more she turned back. She was sure there had to be a trick to the maze. At the last fork she went left, then right at the next. Determined, she kept on. Left, then right. Straight until she came to a fork. Left, then right. It seemed to her to be working. At least she had gone past a dozen forkings this time without finding an end. She came to another. Out of the corner of her eye, she caught a flicker of motion. When she turned to look, there was only the dusty passage between smooth stone walls. She started to take the left fork and spun around at another glimpse of movement. There was nothing there, but this time she was sure. There had been someone behind her. Was someone. She broke into a nervous trot in the opposite direction. Again and again, now, just at the edge of vision down this side passage or that, she saw something move, too quick to make out, gone before she could turn her head to see it plainly. She broke into a run. Few boys had been able to outrun her when she was a girl in the 2 rivers. The 2 rivers? What is that? A man stepped out from an opening ahead of her. His dark clothes had a musty, half-rotted look, and he was old, older than old. Skin like crazed parchment covered his skull too tightly, as if there were no flesh beneath. Wispy tufts of brittle hair covered his scabbed scalp, and his eyes were so sunken they seemed to peer out of 2 caves. She skidded to a stop, the uneven paving stones rough under her feet. I am Aggie, he said, smiling, and I have come for you. Her heart tried to leap out of her chest. One of the Forsaken. No, no, it cannot be. You are a pretty one, girl. I will enjoy you. Suddenly, Nynaeve remembered she wore not a stitch. With a yelp and a face red only partly from anger, she darted away down the nearest crossing passage. Cackling laughter pursued her, and the sound of a shuffling run that seemed to match her best speed, and breathy promises of what he would do when he caught her, promises that curdled her stomach, even only half heard. Desperately she searched for a way out, peering frantically as she ran with fists clenched. The way out will come but once. Be steadfast. There was nothing, only more of the endless maze. As hard as she could run, his filthy words came always right behind her. Slowly, fear turned completely to anger. Burn him, she sobbed. The light burn him. He has no right. Within her she felt a flowering, an opening up, an unfolding to light. Teeth bared, she turned to face her pursuer just as Aginor appeared, laughing in a lurching gallop. You have no right! She flung her fist toward him, fingers opening as if she were throwing something. She was only half surprised to see a ball of fire leave her hand. It exploded against Aginor's chest, knocking him to the ground. For only an instant he sprawled there, then rose, staggering. He seemed unaware of the smoldering front of his coat. You dare! You dare! He quivered, and spittle leaked down his chin. Abruptly, there were clouds in the sky, threatening billows of gray and black. Lightning leaped from the clouds straight for Naive's head. It seemed to her just for a heartbeat, as if time had suddenly slowed, as though that heartbeat took forever. She felt the flow inside her. Saidar, came a distant thought, felt the answering flow in the lightning, and she altered the direction of the flow. Time leaped forward. With a crash, the bolt shattered stone above Aginor's head. The Forsaken's sunken eyes widened, and he tottered back. You cannot! It cannot be! He leaped away as lightning struck where he had stood, stone erupting in a fountain of shards.
Be right back.
Grimly, Nynaeve started toward him, and Aginor fled. Saidar was a torrent racing through her. She could feel the rocks around her and the air, feel the tiny flowing bits of the one power that suffused them and made them. And she could feel Aginor doing something as well. Dimly she felt it, and far distant, as if it were something she could never truly know. But around her she saw the effects and knew them for what they were. The ground rumbled and heaved under her feet. Walls toppled in front of her, piles of stone to block her way. She scrambled over them, uncaring if sharp rock cut hands and feet, always keeping Aginor in sight. A wind rose, howling down the passages against her, raging till it flattened her cheeks and made her eyes water, trying to knock her down. She changed the flow, and Aginor tumbled along the passageway like an uprooted bush. She touched the flow in the ground, redirected it, and stone walls collapsed around Aginor, sealing him in. Lightning fell with her glare, striking around him, stone exploding ever closer and closer. She could feel him fighting to push it back at her, but foot by foot the dazzling bolts moved toward the Forsaken. Something gleamed off to her right, something uncovered by the collapsing walls. Nynaeve could feel Aginor weakening, feel his efforts to strike at her grow more feeble and more frantic. Yet somehow she knew he had not given up. If she let him go now, he would chase after her as strongly as before, convinced she was too weak to defeat him after all, too weak to stop him from doing with her as he wished. A silver arch stood where stone had been, an arch filled with soft silver radiance. The way back. She knew when the Forsaken abandoned his attack, the moment when all his efforts were given over to staving her off, and his power was not enough. He could no longer deflect her blows. Now he had to fling himself away from the licking shouts of stone thrown up by her lightning, the explosions flinging him down again. The way back will come but once. Be steadfast. The lightning no longer fell. Nynaeve turned from the traveling Aginor to look at the arch. She looked back at Aginor, just in time to see him crawl out of sight over the mounded stone and disappear. She hissed in frustration. Much of the maze still stood, and 100 new places to hide in the rubble she and the Forsaken had made. It would take time to find him again, but she was sure if she did not find him first, he would find her. In his full strength, he would come on her when she least expected it. The way back will come but once. Frightened, she looked again and was relieved to see the arch still there. If she could find Aginor quickly, be steadfast. With a cry of thwarted anger, she climbed over the tumbled stone toward the arch. Whoever's responsible for me being here, she muttered, I'll make them wish they had gotten what Aginor got. I'll... She stepped into the arch, and the light overwhelmed her. I'll... Nynaeve stepped out of the arch and stopped to stare. It was all as she remembered. The silver ter'angreal, the Aes Sedai, the chamber. But remembering was like a blow, absent memories crashing back into her head. She had come out of the same arch by which she went in. The Red Sister raised one of the silver chalices high and poured a stream of cool, clear water over Nynaeve's head. You are washed clean of what sin you may have done, the Aes Sedai intoned, and of those done against you. You are washed clean of what crime you may have committed, and of those committed against you. You come to us washed clean and pure, in heart and soul. Nynaeve shivered as the water ran down her body, dripping on the floor. Shiriam took her arm with a relieved smile. mistress of novice's voice gave no hint of past worry. You do well so far. Coming back is doing well. Remember what your purpose is, and you will continue to do well. The redhead began to lead her around the ter'angreal to another arch. It was so real, Nynaeve said in a whisper. She could remember everything. Remember channeling the one power as easily as lifting her hand. She could remember Aginor and the things the Forsaken wanted to do to her. She shivered again. Was it real? No one knows, Shiriam replied. It seems real to many, and some have come out bearing the actual wounds of hurts taken inside. Others have been cut to the bone inside and come back without a mark. It is all a bit different every time for every woman who goes in. The ancients said there were many worlds. Perhaps this ter'angreal takes you to them. Yet, if so, it does so under very stringent rules for something meant just to take you from one place to another. I believe it is not real. But remember, whether what happens is real or not, the danger is as real as a knife plunging into your heart. I channeled the power. It was Shiriam missed a step. That isn't supposed to be possible. You should not even remember being able to channel. She studied Nynaeve. And yet you are not hard. I can still sense the ability in you as strong as it ever was. You sound as if it were dangerous, Nynaeve said slowly, and Shiriam hesitated before answering. It isn't thought necessary to give a warning, since you shouldn't be able to remember it, but this ter'angreal was found during the Trolloc Wars. We have the records of its examination in the archives. The first sister to enter was warded as strongly as she could be, since no one knew what it would do. She kept her memories, and she channeled the one power when she was threatened. And she came out with her abilities burned to nothing, unable to channel, unable even to sense the true source. The second to go in was also warded, and she too was destroyed in the same way. The third went unprotected, remembered nothing once she was inside, and returned unharmed. That is one reason why we send you completely unprotected. Nynaeve, you must not channel inside the ter'angreal again. I know it is hard to remember anything, but try. Nynaeve swallowed. She could remember everything, could remember not remembering. I won't channel, she said, if I can remember not to. She wanted to laugh hysterically. They had reached the next arch. The glow still filled them all. Shiriam gave Nynaeve a last warning look and left her standing alone. The second time is for what is. The way back will come but once. Be steadfast. Nynaeve stared at the shining silver arch. What is in there this time? The others were waiting, watching. She stepped firmly through into the light. Nynaeve stared down at the plain brown dress she wore with surprise, then gave a start. Why was she staring at her own dress? The way back will come but once. Looking around her, she smiled. She stood on the edge of the green in Emmons Field, with thatch-roofed houses all around and the Wine Spring Inn right in front of her. The wine spring itself rose in a gush from the stone outcrop thrusting up through the grass of the green, and the wine spring water rushed off east under the willows beside the inn. The streets were empty, but most people would be at their chores this time of the morning. Looking at the inn, her smile faded. There was more than an air of neglect about it. A whitewash faded, a shutter hanging loose, the rotted end of a rafter showing at a gap in the roof tiles. What's gotten into Bran? Is he spending so much time being mayor he's forgetting to take care of his inn? The inn door swung open, and Senbui came out, stopping dead when he saw her. The old thatcher was as gnarled as an oak root, and the look he gave her was just as friendly. So you've come back. Well, you might as well be off again. Sen sat at her feet and hurried on past her. Sen was never a pleasant man, but he was seldom open with me. Never to her, at least. Never to her. Following him with her eyes, she saw signs of neglect all through the village. Thatch that could have been mended, weeds filling yards. The door on Mistress Alcar's house hung aslant on a broken hinge. Shaking her head, Nynaeve kicked into the inn. I'll have more than one word with Bran about this. The common room was empty except for a lone woman, her thick graying braid pulled over her shoulder. She was wiping a table, but from the way she stared at the tabletop, Nynaeve did not think she was aware of what she was doing. The room seemed dusty. Marin? Marin Alvear jumped, one hand clutching her throat, and stared. She looked years older than Nynaeve remembered. Worn. Nynaeve? Nynaeve! Oh, it is you. Egwene? Have you brought Egwene back? Say you have. I... Nynaeve put a hand to her head. Where is Egwene? Then she should be able to... No. No, I haven't brought her back. The way back will come but once. Mistress Alvear sagged into one of the straight-back chairs. I was so hoping, ever since Bran died. Bran? Nynaeve could not imagine it. That broad, smiling man had always seemed as if he would go on forever. I should have been here. The other woman jumped to her feet and hurried to peer anxiously through a window at the green and the village. If Malena knows you're here, there will be trouble. I just know Sen went scurrying off to find her. He's the mayor now. Sen? How did even those wool-headed men choose Sen? It was Malena. She had the whole women's circle after their husbands for him. Marin pressed her face almost against the window, trying to look every way at once. Silly men don't talk about whose name they're putting in the box beforehand. I suppose every man who voted for Sen thought he was the only one whose wife had badged him into it. Thought one vote would make no difference. Well, they learned better. We all did. Who is this Malena who has the women's circle doing her bidding? I've never heard of her. She's from Watch Hill. She's the Marin turned from the window, wringing her hands. Malena Alar's the wisdom, Nynaeve. When you didn't come back. Might I hope she doesn't find out you're here. Nynaeve shook her head in wonder. Marin, you're afraid of her. You are shaking. What kind of woman is she? Why did the women's circle ever choose someone like her? Mistress Alvear gave a bitter laugh. We must have been mad. Malena came down to see Mavra Malin the day before Mavra had to go back to Devon Ride, and that night some children took sick. Malena stayed to look after them, and then the sheep started dying, and Malena took care of that, too. It just seemed natural to choose her, but she's a bully, Nynaeve. She browbeats you into doing what she wants. She keeps at you and keeps at you until you're too tired to say no anymore. And worse, she knocked Alspeth Luhan down. A picture flashed in Nynaeve's head of Alspeth Luhan and her husband, Harald the blacksmith. She was nearly as tall as him and stoutly built. Alspeth's almost as strong as Harald. I can't believe. Malena's not a big woman, but she's fierce, Nynaeve. She beat Alspeth all around the green with a stick, and none of us who saw had the nerve to try to stop it. When they found out, Bran and Harald said she had to go, even if they were interfering in women's circle business. I think some of the circle might have listened, but Bran and Harald both took sick the same night and died within a day of each other. Marin bit her lip and looked around the room as if she thought someone might be hiding there. Her voice lowered. Malena mixed medicine for her. She said it was her duty, even if they had spoken against her. I saw grave fennel in what she took away with her. Nynaeve gasped. But are you sure, Marin? Are you certain? The other woman nodded, her face wrinkling on the point of her nose. Marin, if you even suspected this woman might have poisoned Bran, how could you not go to the circle? She said Bran and Harald didn't walk in the light, Marin mumbled, talking against the wisdom the way they did. She said that was why they died. The light abandoned them. She talks about sin all the time. She said Pete Alcar sin, talking against her after Bran and Harald died. All he said was she didn't have the way with healing you did, but she drew the dragon's fang on his door, right out where everyone could see her with the charcoal in her hand. Both his boys were dead before the week was out. Just dead when their mother went to wake them. We found her wandering, laughing and crying all at the same time, screaming that Pete was the Dark One and he'd killed her boys. Pete hung himself the next day. She shuddered and her voice went so soft Nynaeve could barely hear it. I have 4 daughters still living under my roof. Living, Nynaeve. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're still alive, and I want to keep them alive. Nynaeve felt cold to her bones. Marin, you can't allow this. The way back will come but once. Be steadfast. She pushed it away. If the women's circle stands together, you can be rid of her. Stand together against Malena? Marin's laugh was nearer a sob. We're all afraid of her, but she's good with the children. There are always children sick these days, it seems, but Malena does the best she can. Almost no one ever died of sickness when you were with them. Marin, listen to me. Don't you see why there are always children sick? If she can't make you afraid of her, she makes you think you need her for the children. She's doing it, Marin, just as she did it to Bran. She couldn't, Marin breathed. She wouldn't. Not the little ones. She is, Marin. Way back. Nynaeve suppressed the thought ruthlessly. Is there anyone in the circle who isn't afraid? Anyone who will listen? The other woman said, no one who isn't afraid. But Corina Yellen might listen. If she does, she might bring 2 or 3 more. Nynaeve, if enough of the circle listens, will you be our wisdom again? I think you may be the only one who won't back down to Malena, even if we all know. You don't know what she's like. I will. The way back. No, these are my people. Get your cloak and we'll go to Corin. Marin was hesitant about leaving the inn, and once Nynaeve had her outside, she slunk along from doorstep to doorstep, crouching and watching. Before they were halfway to Corina Yellen's, Nynaeve saw a tall, scrawny woman striding down the other side of the green toward the inn, slashing the heads off weeds with a thick willow switch. Bony as she was, she had a look of wiry strength and a set, determined slash of a mouth. Sen Louis scuttled along in her wake. Malena? Marin pulled Nynaeve into the space between 2 houses and whispered as if afraid the woman might hear across the green. I knew Sen would go to her. Something made Nynaeve look over her shoulder. Behind her stood a silver arch, reaching from house to house, glowing whitely. The way back will come but once. Be steadfast. Marin gave a soft scream. She's seen us! Light, help us, she's coming this way! The tall woman had turned across the green, leaving Sen standing uncertainly. There was no uncertainty on Malena's face. She walked slowly, as if there were no hope of escape, a cruel smile growing with every step. Marin tugged at Nynaeve's sleeve. We have to run. We have to hide. Nynaeve, come on. Sen will have told her who you are. She hates anyone even to speak of you. The silver arch pulled Nynaeve's eyes. The way back. She shook her head, trying to remember. It is not real. She looked at Marin. Stark terror twisted the woman's face. You must be steadfast to survive. Please, Nynaeve. She's seen me with you. She has seen me. Please, Nynaeve. Marin came closer, implacable. My people. The arch shone. Way back. It is not real. With a sob, Nynaeve tore her arm out of Marin's grasp and plunged toward the silvery glow. Marin's shriek hounded her. For the love of the light, Nynaeve, help me! Help me! The glow enveloped her. Staring, Nynaeve staggered out of the arch, barely aware of the chamber or the eyes to die. Marin's last cry still rang in her ears. She did not flinch when cold water was suddenly poured over her head. You are washed clean of false pride. You are washed clean of false ambition. You come to us washed clean in heart and soul. As the red Aes Sedai stepped back, Shiriam came to take Nynaeve's arm. Nynaeve gave a start, then realized who it was. She seized the collar of Shiriam's dress in both hands. Tell me it was not real. Tell me. Bad. Shiriam pried her hands loose as if she were used to this reaction. It is always worse, and the third is the worst of all. I left my friend. I left my people in the pit of doom to come back. Please, Light, it was not real. I didn't really. I have to make Lorraine pay. I have to. There is always some reason not to return, something to prevent you or distract you. This Terangrial weaves traps for you from your own mind, weaves them tight and strong, harder than steel and more deadly than poison. That is why we use it as a test. You must want to be Aes Sedai more than anything else in the whole world, enough to face anything, believe anything to achieve it. The White Tower cannot accept less. We demand it of you. You demand a great deal. Nynaeve stared at the third arch as the red-haired Aes Sedai took her toward it. The third is the worst. I'm afraid, she whispered. What could be worse than what I just did? Good, Shiriam said. You seek to be Aes Sedai, to channel the one power. No one should approach that without fear and awe. Fear will keep you cautious. Caution will keep you alive. She turned Nynaeve to face the arch, but she did not step back immediately. No one will force you to enter a third time, child. Nynaeve licked her lips. If I refuse, you'll put me out of the tower and never let me come back. Shiriam nodded. And this is the worst. Shiriam nodded again. Nynaeve drew breath. I'm ready. The third time, Shiriam intoned formally, is for what will be. The way back will come but once. Be steadfast. Nynaeve threw herself at the arch in a run. Laughing, she ran through swirling clouds of butterflies rising from wildflowers that covered the hilltop meadow with a knee-deep blanket of color. Her gray mare danced nervously, reins dangling at the edge of the meadow, and Nynaeve stopped running so as not to frighten the animal more. Some of the butterflies settled on her dress, on flowers of embroidery and seed pearls, or flittered around the sapphires and moonstones in her hair, hanging loose about her shoulders. Below the hill, the necklace of the thousand lakes spread through the city of Malkir, reflecting the cloud-brushing 7 towers, with golden crane banners flying at their heights in the mists. The city had 1,000 gardens, but she preferred this wild garden on the hilltop. The way back will come but once. Be steadfast. The sound of hooves made her turn. Al-Lan Mandragoran, king of Malkir, leaped from the back of his charger and strolled toward her through the butterflies, laughing. His face had the look of a hard man, but the smiles he wore for her softened the stony plains. She gaped at him, taken by surprise when he gathered her into his arms and kissed her. For a moment she clung to him, lost, kissing him back. Her feet dangled a foot in the air, and she did not care. Suddenly she pushed at him, pulled her face back. No, she pushed harder. Let me go. Put me down. Puzzled, he lowered her until her feet touched ground. She backed away from him. Not this, she said. I cannot face this. Anything but this. Please let me face Aguinor again. Memory swirled. Aguinor? She did not know where that thought had come from. Memory lurched and tilted, shifting fragments like broken ice on a flooding river. She clawed for the pieces, clawed for something to hang on to. Are you well, my love? Lan asked worriedly. Do not call me that. I am not your love. I cannot marry you. He startled her by throwing back his head and roaring with laughter. Your implication that we are not married might upset our children's life. And how are you not, my love? I have no other and will have no other. I must go back. Desperately, she looked for the arch, found only meadow and sky. Harder than steel and more deadly than poison. Land, lands, babies. Light, help me. I must go back now. Go back? Where? To Emmons Field? If you wish it, I'll send letters to Morgaze and command an escort. Alone, she muttered, still searching. Where is it? I have to go. I won't be tangled up in this. I couldn't bear it. Not this. I have to go now. Tangled up in what, Nynaeve? What is it you couldn't bear? No, Nynaeve. You can ride alone here if you wish it. But if the Queen of the Malkiri came to Andor without a proper escort, your gaze would be scandalized if not offended. You don't want to offend her, do you? I thought you two were friends. Nynaeve felt as if she'd been hit in the head, blow after dazing blow. Queen, she said hesitantly. We have babies? Are you certain you're well? I think I'd better take you to Sharina Sadai. No. She backed away from him again. No, Eyes Sadai. It isn't real. I won't be pulled into it this time. I won't. Very well, he said slowly. As my wife, how could you not be queen? We are Malkiri here, not Southlanders. You were crowned in the Seven Towers at the same time we exchanged rings. Unconsciously, he moved his left hand. A plain gold band encircled his forefinger. She glanced at her own hand, at the ring she knew would be there. She clasped her other hand over it, but whether to deny its presence by hiding it or to hold it, she could not have said. Do you remember now? He went on. He stretched out a hand as if to brush her cheek, and she went back another 6 steps. He sighed. As you wish, my love. We have 3 children, though only one can properly be called a baby. Marek is almost to your shoulder and can't decide if he likes horses or books better. Elnor has already begun practicing how to turn boys' heads when she is not pestering Sharina about when she'll be old enough to go to the White Tower. Elnor was my mother's name, she said softly. So you said when you chose it. Nynaeve, no, I will not be pulled into it this time. Not this. I won't. Beyond him, among the trees beside the meadow, she saw the silver arch. The trees had hidden it before. The way back will come but once. She turned toward it. I must go. He caught her hand, and it was as if her feet had become rooted in stone. She could not make herself pull away. I do not know what is troubling you, wife, but whatever it is, tell me and I will make it right. I know I am not the best of husbands. I was all hard edges when I found you, but you've smoothed some of them away at least. You are the very best of husbands, she murmured. To her horror, she found herself remembering him as her husband, remembering laughter and tears, bitter arguments and sweet making up. They were dim memories, but she could feel them growing stronger, warmer. I cannot. The arch stood there only a few steps away. The way back will come but once. Be steadfast. I do not know what is happening, Nynaeve, but I feel as if I were losing you. I could not bear that. He put a hand in her hair. Closing her eyes, she pressed her cheek against his fingers. Stay with me always. I want to stay, she said softly. I want to stay with you. When she opened her eyes, the arch was gone. Come but once. No! No! Lan turned her to face him. What troubles you? You must tell me if I'm to help. This is not real. Not real. Before I met you, I thought nothing except the sword was real. Look around you, Nynaeve. It is real. Whatever you want to be real, we can make real together, you and I. Wonderingly, she did look around. The meadow was still there. The 7 towers still stood over the 1,000 lakes. The arch was gone, but nothing else had changed. I could stay here, with Lan. Nothing has changed. Her thoughts turned. Nothing has changed. Egwene is alone in the White Tower. Rand will channel the power and go mad. And what of Mat and Perrin? Can they take back any shred of their lives? And Moiraine, who tore all our lives apart, still walks free. I must go back, she whispered. Unable to bear the pain on his face, she pulled free of him. Deliberately, she formed a flower bud in her mind, a white bud on a blackthorn branch. She made the thorns sharp and cruel, wishing they could pierce her flesh, feeling as if she already hung in the blackthorn's branches. Shiriam Sadai's voice danced just out of hearing, telling her it was dangerous to attempt to channel the power. The bud opened, and Saidar filled her with light. Nynaeve, tell me what is the matter. Lan's voice slid across her concentration. She refused to let herself hear it. There had to be a way back still. Staring at where the silver arch had been, she tried to find some trace of it. There was nothing. Nynaeve! She tried to picture the arch in her mind, to shape it and form it to the last detail, curve of gleaming metal filled with a glow like snowy fire. It seemed to waver there in front of her. First there between her and the trees, then not, then there. I love you. She drew at Saidar. drinking in the flow of the one power till she thought she would burst. The radiance filling her, shining around her, hurt her own eyes. The heat seemed to consume her. The flickering arch firmed, steadied, stood whole before her. Fire and pain seemed to fill her. Her bones felt as if they were burning. Her skull seemed a roaring furnace. With all my heart. She ran toward the silver curve, not letting herself look back. She had been sure the bitterest thing she would ever hear was Marin Alvere's cry for help, as Nynaeve abandoned her. But that was honey, beside the sound of Lan's anguished voice pursuing her. Nynaeve, please don't leave me. The white glow consumed her. Naked, Nynaeve staggered through the arch and fell to her knees, slack-mouthed and sobbing, tears streaming down her cheeks. Shiriam knelt beside her. She glared at the red-haired Aes Sedai. I hate you, she managed fiercely, gulping. I hate all Aes Sedai. Shiriam gave a small sigh, then pulled Nynaeve to her feet. Child, almost every woman who does this says much the same thing. It is no small thing to be made to face your fears. What is this? She said sharply, turning Nynaeve's palms up. Nynaeve's hands quivered with a sudden pain she had not felt before. Driven through the palm of each hand, right in the center, was a long black thorn. Shiriam drew them out carefully. Nynaeve felt the cool healing of the Aes Sedai's touch. When each thorn came free, it left only a small scar on front and back of the hand. Shiriam frowned. There shouldn't be any scarring. And how did you only get two, and both placed so precisely? If you tangled yourself in a blackthorn bush, you should be covered with scratches and thorns. I should, Nynaeve agreed bitterly. Maybe I thought I had already paid enough. There is always a price, the Aes Sedai agreed. Come now, you have paid the first price. Take what you have paid for. She gave Nynaeve a slight push forward. Nynaeve realized there were more Aes Sedai in the chamber. The Amelin in her striped stole was there, with a shawled sister from each Ajah ranged to either side of her, all of them watching Nynaeve. Remembering Shiriam's instruction, Nynaeve tottered forward and knelt before the Amelin. It was she who held the last chalice, and she tipped it slowly over Nynaeve's head. You are washed clean of Nynaeve Almira from Emond's Field. You are washed clean of all ties that bind you to the world. You come to us washed clean in heart and soul. You are Nynaeve Almira, accepted of the White Tower. Handing the chalice to one of the sisters, the Amelin drew Nynaeve to her feet. You are sealed to us now. The Amelin's eyes seemed to hold a dark glow. Nynaeve's shiver had nothing to do with being naked and wet. Chapter 24. New Friends and Old Enemies. Egwene followed the accepted through the halls of the White Tower. Tapestries and paintings covered walls as white as the outside of the tower. Patterned tiles made the floor. The accepted's white dress was exactly like hers, except for 7 narrow bands of color at hem and cuffs. Egwene frowned looking at that dress. Since yesterday, Nynaeve had worn an accepted's dress, and she seemed to have no joy of it, nor of the golden ring, a serpent eating its own tail, that marked her level. The few times Egwene had been able to see the wisdom, Nynaeve's eyes had seemed shadowed, as if she had seen things she wished with all her heart not to have seen. In here, the accepted said curtly, gesturing to a door. Named Pedra, she was a short, wiry woman, a little older than Nynaeve, and with a briskness always in her voice. You're given this time because it is your first day, but I'll expect you in the scullery when the gong sounds high and not 1 moment later. Egwene curtsied, then stuck out her tongue at the accepted's retreating back. It might have been only the evening before that Shiriam had finally put her name in the novice book, but already she knew she did not like Pedra. She pushed open the door and went in. The room was plain and small with white walls, and there was a young woman with reddish-gold hair spilling around her shoulders, sitting on one of 2 hard benches. The floor was bare. Novices did not get much use of rooms with carpets. Egwene thought the girl was about her own age. but there was a dignity and self-possession about her that made her seem older. The plainly cut novice dress appeared somehow more on her. Elegant, that was it. "My name's Elaine," she said. She tilted her head, studying Egwene. "And you are Egwene, from Emmons Field, in the Two Rivers." She said it as if it had some significance, but went right on anyway. "Someone who has been here a little while is always assigned to a new novice for a few days to help her find her way. Sit, please." Egwene took the other bench, facing Elaine. "I thought the Aes Sedai would teach me now that I'm finally a novice, but all that's happened so far is that Pedra woke me a good 2 hours before first light and put me to sweeping the halls. She says I have to help wash dishes after dinner, too." Elaine grimaced. "I hate washing dishes. I never had to. Well, that doesn't matter. You will have training. From now on, you will be at training at this hour every day, as a matter of fact. From breakfast until high, then again from dinner to trine. If you are especially quick or especially slow, they may take you from supper to full as well. But that is usually for more chores." Elaine's blue eyes took on a thoughtful expression. "You were born with it, weren't you?" Egwene nodded. "Yes, I thought I felt it. So was I, born with it. Do not be disappointed if you did not know. You will learn to feel the ability in other women. I had the advantage of growing up around an Aes Sedai." Egwene wanted to ask about that. Who grows up with Aes Sedai? But Elaine went on. "And also do not be disappointed if it takes you some time before you can achieve anything. With the one power, I mean. Even the simplest thing takes a little time. Patience is a virtue that must be learned." Her nose wrinkled. "Shiriam Sedai always says that, and she does her best to make us all learn it too. Try to run when she says walk, and she'll have you in her study before you can blink." "I've had a few lessons already," Egwene said, trying to sound modest. She opened herself to Saidar, that part of it was easier now, and felt the warmth suffuse her body. She decided to try the biggest thing she knew how to do. She stretched out her hand, and a glowing sphere formed over it, pure light. It wavered. She still could not manage to hold it steady, but it was there. Calmly, Elaine held out her hand, and a ball of light appeared above her palm. Hers flickered, too. After a moment, a faint light glowed all around Elaine. Egwene gasped, and her ball vanished. Elaine giggled suddenly, and her light went out, both the sphere and the light around her. "You saw it around me?" she said excitedly. "I saw it around you. Shiriam Sedai said I would eventually. This was the first time. For you too?" Egwene nodded, laughing along with the other girl. "I like you, Elaine. I think we're going to be friends." "I think so too, Egwene. You are from the Two Rivers, from Emmons Field. Do you know a boy named Rand al'Thor?" "I know him." Abruptly, Egwene found herself remembering a tale Rand had told, a tale she had not believed, about falling off a wall into a garden and meeting. "You're the daughter heir of Andor," she gasped. "Yes," Elaine said simply. "If Shiriam Sedai as much as heard I'd mentioned it, I think she would have me into her study before I finished talking." "Everyone talks about being called to Shiriam's study, even the accepted. Does she scold so fiercely? She seems kindly to me." Elaine hesitated, and when she spoke, it was slowly, not meeting Egwene's eye. "She keeps a willow switch on her desk. She says if you can't learn to follow the rules in a civilized way, she will teach you another way. There are so many rules for novices. It is very hard not to break some of them," she finished. "But that's horrible. I'm not a child, and neither are you. I won't be treated as one." "But we are children. The Aes Sedai, the full sisters, are the grown women. The accepted are the young women, old enough to be trusted without someone looking over their shoulders every moment. And novices are the children, to be protected and cared for, guided in the way they should go, and punished when they do what they should not. That is the way Shiriam Sedai explains it. No one is going to punish you over your lessons, not unless you try something you've been told not to. It is hard not to try sometimes. You will find you want to channel as much as you want to breathe. But if you break too many dishes because you are daydreaming when you should be washing, if you're disrespectful to an accepted, or leave the tower without permission, or speak to an Aes Sedai before she speaks to you, or the only thing to do is the best you can. There isn't anything else to do. It sounds almost as if they're trying to make us want to leave, Egwene protested. They aren't, but then again they are. Egwene, there are only 40 novices in the tower. Only 40, and no more than 7 or 8 will become accepted. That is not enough, Shiriam Sedai says. She says there are not enough Aes Sedai now to do what needs to be done. But the tower cannot lower its standards. The Aes Sedai cannot take a woman as a sister if she does not have the ability and the strength and the desire. They can't give the ring and the shawl to one who cannot channel the power well enough, or who will allow herself to be intimidated, or who will turn back when the road turns rough. Training and testing take care of the channeling, and for strength and desire, well, if you want to go, they will let you. Once you know enough that you won't die of ignorance. I suppose, Egwene said slowly. Shiriam told us some of that. I never thought about there not being enough Aes Sedai, though. She has a theory. She says we have culled humankind. You know about culling? Cutting out of the herd those animals that have traits you don't like? Egwene nodded impatiently. No one could grow up around sheep without knowing about culling the flock. Shiriam Sedai says that with the Red Aja hunting down men who could channel for 3,000 years, we are culling the ability to channel out of us all. I would not mention this around any Reds if I were you. Shiriam Sedai has been in more than one shouting match over it, and we are only novices. I won't. Elaine paused and then said, Is Rand well? Egwene felt a sudden stab of jealousy. Elaine was very pretty, but over it came a stronger stab of fear. She went over the little she knew of Rand's one meeting with the daughter heir, reassuring herself. Elaine could not possibly know that Rand could channel. Egwene? He is as well as he can be. He is the wool-headed idiot. He was riding with some Shinaran soldiers the last I saw him. Shinarans? He told me he was a shepherd. She shook her head. I find myself thinking of him at the oddest times. Elida thinks he is important in some way. She didn't come right out and say so, but she ordered a search for him, and she was in a fury when she learned he had left Cainlan. Elida? Elida Sedai, my mother's counselor. She is Red Aja, but Mother seems to like her despite that. Egwene's mouth felt dry. Red Aja, and interested in Rand. I I don't know where he is now. He left Shinar, and I don't think he was going back. Elaine gave her a level look. I would not tell Elida where to find him if I knew Egwene. He has done no wrong that I know, and I fear she wants to use him in some manner. Anyway, I've not seen her since the day we arrived, with white cloaks dogging our trail. They are still camped on the Dragon Mount side. Abruptly, she bounded to her feet. Let us talk of happier things. There are 2 others here who know Rand, and I would like you to meet one of them.
I'll be right back.
She took Egwene's hand and pulled her out of the room. 2 girls? Rand seems to meet a lot of girls. Hmm? Still drawing Egwene down the corridor, Elaine studied her. Yes, well, one of them is a lazy chit named Elsa Grinwell. I don't think she will be here long. She shirks her chores, and she's always sneaking off to watch the warders practice their swords. She says Rand came to her father's farm with a friend of his, Matt. It seems they put notions of the world beyond the next village into her head, and she ran away to come be an Aes Sedai. Men, Egwene muttered. I dance a few dances with a nice boy, and Rand goes around looking like a dog with a sore tooth, but he... She cut off as a man stepped into the hall ahead of them. Beside her, Elaine stopped, too, and her hand tightened on Egwene's. There was nothing alarming about him, aside from the suddenness of his appearance. He was tall and handsome, short of middle years, with long, dark curling hair, but his shoulders sagged, and there was sadness in his eyes. He made no move toward Egwene and Elaine, only stood looking at them until one of the accepted appeared at his shoulder. You should not be in here, she said to him, not unkindly. I wanted to know. His voice was deep and as sad as his eyes. You can walk out in the garden, where you are supposed to be. The sunshine will be good for you. The man rumbled a bitter laugh. With 2 or 3 of you watching my every move, you're just afraid I'll find a knife. At the look in the accepted's eyes, he laughed again. For myself. For myself. Lead me to your garden, your watching eyes. The accepted touched his arm lightly and led him away. Okay, Elaine said when he was gone. The false dragon. He has been gentle, Egwene. He is no more dangerous than any other man now, but I remember seeing him before when it took 6 Aes Sedai to keep him from wielding the power and destroying us all. She shivered. Egwene did too. That was what the Red Ajah would do to Rand. Do they always have to be gentle? She asked. Elaine stared at her, mouth agape, and she quickly added, It is just that I think the Aes Sedai would find some other way to deal with them. Anaya and Moiraine both said the greatest feats of the Age of Legends required men and women working together with the power. I just thought they would try to find a way. Well, do not let any Red sister hear you thinking it aloud. Egwene, they did try. For 300 years after the White Tower was built, they tried. They gave up because there was nothing to find. Come on, I want you to meet Min. Not in the garden where Loghain is going, thank the light. The name sounded vaguely familiar to Egwene, and when she saw the young woman, she knew why. There was a narrow stream in the garden with a low stone bridge over it, and Min sat cross-legged on the wall of the bridge. She wore a man's tight breeches and baggy shirt, and with her dark hair cut short, she could almost pass for a boy, though an uncommonly pretty one. A gray coat lay beside her on the coping. I know you, Egwene said. You worked at the inn in Bearlawn. A light breeze riffled the water beneath the bridge, and gray winds warbled in the trees of the garden. Min smiled. And you were one of those who brought the Dark Friends down on us to burn it down. No, don't worry. The messenger who came to fetch me brought enough gold that Master Fitch is building it back again twice as big. Good morning, Elaine. Not slaving over your lessons, or over some pots. It was said in a bantering tone as between friends, as Elaine's answering grin proved. I see Sheriam has not yet managed to get you into a dress. Min's laugh was wicked. I'm no novice. She made her voice squeaky. Yes, Aes Sedai, no Aes Sedai. May I sweep another floor, Aes Sedai? I, she said, resuming her own low voice, clothe myself the way I want. She turned to Egwene. Is Rand well? Egwene's mouth tightened. He should wear Rand's warmth like a trunk, she thought angrily. I was sorry when your inn caught fire, and I'm glad Master Fitch was able to rebuild. Why have you come to Tar Valon? It's clear you do not mean to be an Aes Sedai. Min arched an eyebrow in what Egwene was sure was amusement. She likes him, Elaine explained. I know. Min glanced at Egwene, and for an instant Egwene thought she saw sadness or regret in her eyes. I am here, Min said, because I was sent for, and was given the choice between riding and coming tied in a sack. You always exaggerate it, Elaine said. Sheriam Sedai saw the letter, and she says it was a request. Min sees things, Egwene. That's why she's here, so the Aes Sedai can study how she does it. It isn't the power. Request, Min snorted. When an Aes Sedai requests your presence, it's like a command from a queen with 100 soldiers to back it up. Everybody sees things, Egwene said. Elaine shook her head. Not like Min. She sees auras around people, and images. Not all the time. Min, not around everybody. And she can read things about you from them. I'm not sure she always tells the truth. She said I'd have to share my husband with 2 other women, and I'd never put up with that. She just laughs and says it was never her idea of how to run things either. But she said I would be a queen before she knew who I was. She said she saw a crown, and it was the rose crown of Andor. Despite herself, Egwene asked, "What do you see when you look at me?" Min glanced at her. "A white flame and all sorts of things. I don't know what it means." "She says that a great deal," Elaine said dryly. "One of the things she said she saw looking at me was a severed hand. Not mine, she says. She claims she does not know what it means either." "Because I don't," Min said. "I don't know what half of it means." The crunch of boots on the walk brought them around to look at two young men with their shirts and coats across their arms, leaving sweaty chests bare and scabbarded swords in their hands. Egwene found herself staring at the most handsome man she'd ever seen. Tall and slim, but hard, he moved with a cat-like grace. She suddenly realized he was bowing over her hand. She'd not even felt him take it in his, and fumbled in her mind for the name she had heard. "Galad," she murmured. His dark eyes stared back into hers. He was older than she, older than Rand. At the thought of Rand, she gave a start and came to herself. "And I am Gawain," the other young man grinned. "Since I don't think you heard the first time." Min was grinning too, and only Elaine wore a frown. Egwene abruptly remembered her hand, still held by Galad, and freed it. "If your duties allow," Galad said, "I would like to see you again, Egwene. We could walk, or if you obtain permission to leave the tower, we could picnic outside the city." That would be nice." She was uncomfortably aware of the others, Min and Gawain still with their amused grins, Elaine still with her scowl. She tried to settle herself, to think of Rand. "He's so beautiful." She gave a jump, half afraid she'd spoken aloud. Until then. Finally taking his eyes from hers, Galad bowed to Elaine. "Sister." Lithe as a blade, he strolled on across the bridge. "That," Min murmured, peering after him, "will always do what is right, no matter who it hurts." "Sister," Egwene said. Elaine's scowl had lessened only slightly. "I thought it was you. I mean, the way you're frowning." She'd thought Elaine was jealous, and she still was not sure. "I am not his sister," Elaine said firmly. "I refuse to be." "Our father was his father," Gawain said dryly. "You cannot deny that unless you want to call Mother a liar, and that I think would take more nerve than we have between us." For the first time, Egwene realized that he had the same reddish-gold hair as Elaine, though darkened and curled by sweat. "Min is right," Elaine said. "Galad has not the smallest part of humanity in him. He takes right about mercy or pity, or he is no more human than a Trolloc." Gawain's grin came back. "I do not know about that. Not from the way he was looking at Egwene here." He caught her look and his sister's, and held up his hands as if to fend them off with his sheathed sword. "Besides, he has the best hand with a sword I've ever seen. The warders only need show him something once, and he's learned it. They sweat me nearly to death to learn half what Galad does without trying." "And being good with a sword is enough?" Elaine sniffed. "Men." "Egwene, as you may have guessed, this disgracefully unclothed lummox is my brother. Gawain, Egwene knows Rand al'Thor. She's from the same village." "Is she? Was he really born in the Two Rivers, Egwene?" Egwene made herself nod calmly. "What does he know?" "Of course he was. I grew up with him." "Of course," Gawain said slowly. "Such a strange fellow. A shepherd, he said, though he never looked or acted like any shepherd I ever saw." "Strange. I've met all sorts of people, and they've met Rand al'Thor. Some do not even know his name, but the description could not be anyone else, and he's shifted every one of their lives. There was an old farmer who came to Cainland just to see Loghain, when Loghain was brought through on his way here. Yet the farmer stayed to stand for Mother when the riots started, because of a young man off to see the world who made him think there was more to life than his farm, Rand al'Thor. You could almost think he was Taviran. Elida is certainly interested in him. I wonder if meeting him will shift our lives in the pattern. Egwene looked at Elaine and Min. She was sure they could not have a clue that Rand really was ta'veren. She had never really thought about that part of it before. He was Rand, and he had been cursed with the ability to channel. But ta'veren did move people, whether they wanted to be moved or not. I really do like you, she said abruptly, including both girls in her gesture. I want to be your friend. And I want to be yours, Elaine said. Impulsively, Egwene hugged her, and then Min jumped down, and the three of them stood there on the bridge, hugging one another all together. We three are tied together, Min said, and we cannot let any man get in the way of that, not even him. Would one of you mind telling me what this is all about? Gawain inquired gently. You would not understand, his sister said, and the three girls all caught a fit of the giggles. Gawain scratched his head, then shook it. Well, if it has anything to do with Randall Thor, be sure you don't let Elida hear of it. She has been at me like a white-cloaked questioner 3 times since we arrived. I do not think she means him any. He gave a start. There was a woman crossing the garden, a woman in a red-fringed shawl. Name the Dark One, he quoted, and he appears. I do not need another lecture about wearing my shirt when I'm out of the practice yards. Good morning to you all. Elida spared a glance for the departing Gawain as she came up the bridge. She was a handsome woman rather than beautiful, Egwene thought, but that ageless look marked her as surely as her shawl. Only the newest maid sisters lacked it. When her gaze swept over Egwene, pausing only a moment, Egwene suddenly saw hardness in the Aes Sedai. She'd always thought of Moiraine as strong, steel under silk, but Elida dispensed with the silk. Elida, Elaine said. This is Egwene. She was born with the seed in her too, and she has already had some lessons, so she is as far along as I am. Elida? The Aes Sedai's face was blank and unreadable. In Cayman, child, I am counselor to the queen, your mother, but this is the White Tower, and you a novice. Min made as if to go, but Elida stopped her with a sharp, Stay, girl, I would speak with you. I've known you all my life, Elida, Elaine said incredulously. You watched me grow up, and made the gardens bloom in winter so I could play. Child, there you were the daughter heir. Here you are a novice. You must learn that. You will be great one day, but you must learn. Yes, Aes Sedai. Egwene was astounded. If someone had snubbed her so before others, she would have been in a fury. Now, off with both of you. A gong began to toll, deep and sonorous, and Elida tilted her head. The sun stood halfway to its pinnacle. Hi, Elida said. You must hurry if you do not want further admonishment. And Elaine, see the mistress of novices in her study after your chores. A novice does not speak to Aes Sedai unless bidden to. Run, both of you. You will be late. Run! They ran, holding their skirts up. Egwene looked at Elaine. Elaine had 2 spots of color in her cheeks, and a determined look on her face. I will be, Aes Sedai, Elaine said softly, but it sounded like a promise. Behind them, Egwene heard the Aes Sedai begin. I'm given to understand, girl, that you were brought here by Moiraine Sedai. She wanted to stay and listen, to hear if Elida asked about Rand, but High rang through the White Tower, and she was summoned to chores. She ran as she had been commanded to run. I will be Aes Sedai, she growled. Elaine flashed a quick smile of understanding, and they ran faster. Min's shirt clung to her when she finally left the bridge, not sweat from the sun, but from the heat of Elida's questions. She looked over her shoulder to make sure the Aes Sedai was not following her, but Elida was nowhere in sight. How did Elida know that Moiraine had summoned her? Min had been sure that was a secret known only to her, Moiraine, and Shiriam, and all those questions about Rand. It had not been easy keeping a smooth face and a steady eye, while telling an Aes Sedai to her face that she had never heard of him and knew nothing of him. What does she want with him? Light, what does Moiraine want with him? What is he? Light, I don't want to fall in love with a man I've only met once, and a farm boy at that. Moiraine, the light blind you, she muttered. Whatever you brought me here for, come out from wherever you're hiding and tell me so I can go." The only answer was the sweet song of the gray wings. With a grimace, she went in search of a place to cool off.
Chapter 25.
All right, everyone. I'm gonna call Into This Life for tonight. I want to thank everyone for stopping by and everyone who keeps stopping by. I appreciate all y'all's support. Until next time, everyone, y'all stay safe.